a grant. Item number 9, approval of Amendment 1 to the Water Conservation Plan. Item number 10, approval of change order number 5 with Roper Construction to increase the contract time from November 1, 2023 to December 31, 2023 for completion of Alto 3, H 1979, POD 5, and Alto 4, H 1979, POD 6 well improvements project. Item number 11, approval of task order RFP number 2022-004P-SMA-02 Amendment 1, Master Planning and Rate Analysis with Souder Miller and Associates, SMA, for an extension of time from September 2023 to June 2024 and changing the village contract. Item number 12 is approval of ratification of a lease agreement between the Village of Ruidoso and Sean Grubb for T-Hangar Charlie 8 located at Sierra Blanca Regional Airport beginning October 1st, 2023.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the regular consent items as read.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please, ma'am.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Counselor Hooker?
Aye.
Counselor Eby?
Aye.
Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin?
Aye. Okay, now we'll move on to public input. It's limited to the first hour, and we don't usually have to go that long. But the rules are, you don't talk ugly, you get 5 minutes. Please don't repeat yourself. And if the person spoke about the same thing before, we just don't want to repeat things. So up first, and we can't have dialogue back and forth with the council members. We just take the information down and act on it later. But we do listen. Item number 1, person number 1, Jennifer Brewer. Come on down. Yeah, you're not going to win anything. That was last Saturday. The Adventure Tours gave away everything. Yes, ma'am. And you might pull that mic down so the millions listening around the world can hear you.
Yes, Jennifer Brewer, 89 Rio Street. And I have 3 thank yous, and then I'll get on to. So thank you again for speed bumps and lower speed limits on my street. It's much better. And also, maybe just 2. Back in September sometime, there was a water leak on Grindstone and Sutter. And water department worked till all night probably on fixing that. Those poor guys were out there forever, so they get kudos for fixing it, and they were out there forever. And then the other thing is, I know, the Ruidoso Insider. Yes, I like it, and it is arriving in a more timely manner. For the longest time, we didn't get it till the middle of the month, and then you've missed all the cool stuff that's in it and all the activities. So now it's actually arriving like the 1st or 2nd of the month. So whoever's in charge of that, thank you. So I work in Midtown part-time, and I know we have a shortage of nationwide and here also of police officers. But, so I know it's hard to have one in Midtown all the time, but the speeding and the noise is awful. And I didn't realize just how bad, but tourists come in and they can identify the yellow Camaro that speeds up and down all day long. And at the stoplights, or just if they see a group of people, they'll slow down and rev up. And not just where I work, but if I walk up and down in Midtown. And it scares the tourists, and it makes their kids cry, makes little old ladies jump, which I know is why they do it, but it's still, it's not good for the tourists. And so actually when the tourists said if there were maybe a couple more crosswalks, especially by the new parking where the zip line park, whatever that is, that maybe they wouldn't go as fast. And I think we do need another crosswalk there, because if you're at the farmer's market, if you want to cross the street to go eat at Buttery or any of those other places, it's crazy trying to cross there. And lots of people during farmer's market were trying to cross the street, tourists, locals, and it's kind of a busy intersection or area. But maybe that would help alleviate some of the speeding and help tourists get across if we had one or two more crosswalk areas. And somebody mentioned one that was in some town, thank you, where they have a flag thing, where you take a flag, and maybe y'all have seen it. I saw it on TV at some point, but something with a flag and a light goes on and you cross the street with the flag. I don't know. But they thought it was a pretty cool thing, whatever town they've been in. And the only other thing was, hopefully, we're still trying to recruit more firemen and policemen, and that would make things wonderful. And that's it.
Thank you. Eddie Ryan.
Good afternoon, Mayor and council members.
Morning. Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Tell us who you are and what you do.
My name is Eddie Ryan. I'm the manager of events and strategic partnerships in the Village of Ruidoso.
Yep, that's a long one.
It's a long one, I know. And, yeah, I'm working on a lot of different things in the village as far as bringing in events that are based around, like right now, we're working on the triathlon events. We had a
So now, were we going to talk about this on the manager's report?
Mayor Crawford, members of the council, I think you may have signed in on the
Wrong
public
ticket.
input,
Okay.
so.
We want to hear from you, but we can't talk to you if you're going to get public. Eddie Ryan is one of our new employees, and obviously, we need to do some better coaching on this stuff. But can
Yes.
you hold off and give us your report on the movies and all the different things in a little bit?
Whenever.
That'll be
Awesome.
under the manager's report.
Okay, I thought you had a complaint or you wanted your trash
No,
dumpster
I
moved
didn't
or
know.
something. Okay, well, he's new to town, everybody. This is Eddie Ryan. Okay, and Andrea Fernandez.
Thank you, Mayor, council members, public. Andrea is how I pronounce my name.
Andrea, I'm sorry.
I know. There's so many ways to say it, so thank you. I just want to acknowledge the beauty and the blessings of the fall season. This is the season of change, a season of gratitude, and a season of abundance. And I want to thank Parks and Rec for their great market that they put on this season. As a vendor, I can say most of us felt successful, and we appreciate that the locals showed up, brought their reusable bags and containers so that we could minimize trash, and the partnerships that we've had to bring produce to the market. Speaking of the beauty of the season, this is one of my favorite seasons, is political season. And for me, politics is fun, and I just want to get my show and tell bag real quick. And so I want to encourage everybody to know their state and local constitutions, advocate for themselves, and work together to advocate, because we really need to remember our power and our place. This is a talking stick, which is a reminder to be, everybody has a voice, to respect and honor all voices, and to practice listening. The county is getting bookmarks out that have voter information. And also, if you go to nmvote.org, you can update your voter registration. Today's the last day to get your update in for if you wanted to early vote or some of that other stuff. Also, I have a suggestion, because politics have been difficult, that we party and make it fun. And that we have community apple picks right now, since the apples are in season. Everybody organize your own pick, bring the apples to the convention center on election day, and we'll press and make some apple cider. So, but I don't want to be in charge, but I'll bring the press. Okay, moving on. Also along the lines of civic duty is that we are tangoing for justice and civic health at the Faithful Fern, which is a new partnership. They are cooperating with different health and wellness entities to provide a variety of classes and education, from nutrition to yoga to Tango for Justice. So check it out. Also, we're collecting egg cartons and canning jars there because we really want to reduce the waste, reduce the costs. I have a question that maybe you cannot answer at this time, but one of the public speaking rules is that we can't speak to an agenda item. Is that still a rule? Okay, great. Thank you. Moving on. So I personally have been drinking Village of Ruidoso water because I'm already paying for it, and I'm under the understanding that it's quality drinking water. But when I see plastic water bottles by village staff and government, then it makes me question that the water is drinkable water. And I also have been advocating for water stations at Parks and Rec establishments, and it would be great if we had one here so that we can refill and reuse, which is the socially responsible modern practice, and I hope we get with it. And let's see. Yeah, one more thing is that I will be asserting my rights tomorrow in court at the Ruidoso Magistrate Court at 10 a.m. It will be online. I will be advocating and asserting for Article 2, Section 4 of the New Mexico Constitution. And it's going to be a learning experience, whether you agree with me or not. It's about learning how to advocate and have our rights be recognized. Thank you.
Okay, now we'll move on to mayoral reports and presentation, and we'll start with presentation of new employees. Joanna Quintana, HR Generalist. Oh, hello there.
Hi.
So this is your one chance. So tell us where you're from.
Well, I grew up in New Mexico and I lived in Ruidoso for about 8 years.
So, and you've been here a while. Well, good. We're glad to have you.
Oh, she's married to Aaron, and yes, it just dawned on me who you
Oh,
were. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right, well, we're glad to have you. Thank you.
he was Consolidated Dispatch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Aaron.
yeah.
Patricia Aguirre, Parks and Rec. Hello, we're glad to have you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm from Mexico, Chihuahua, Mexico, but I grew up in California and I've been here in Ruidoso for 41 years.
41 years.
Hey.
Yay.
Wow. You're not that old to have grown up in New Mexico. And anyway, well, we're glad to have you.
Yes.
Very much so. Myra Ramos, Dispatch. Hallelujah.
Hey.
Where are you from?
I was born in Colorado, but I've been here for 2 years, so I was raised here.
Well, we're certainly glad to have you. I know you're terribly happy, Katie. Yes, absolutely. So they got the new dispatch, the consolidated dispatch room, so you guys are one of the first ones over there, so. Good. Yes, very nice. Well, we're glad to have you very much. Thank you.
Yay.
Miguel Gonzalez, Parks and Rec. Hello, Miguel. Well, you're in one of the most popular departments. You know, everybody loves Parks and Rec. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm from the Valley. I just started this morning, so.
Oh, so it's still touch and go at this point. Okay, well, at least we got your name on here pretty quick. So, well, hopefully you have a long tenure. We really do. So,
Glad you're here.
That's why the
You
best
enjoy
is
it.
still clean.
yeah.
I'll tell you what, I started just like you right there, and look at where it ended me up at.
Yeah, look.
So,
Yeah, no pay for.
Yeah.
He's got the new vest and everything on. You're right. All right. Well, thank you very much, Miguel. Lansdale Water Distribution. We're glad to have you. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Lansdale, I've lived here on and off for the last 8 years.
Okay. Well, we hopefully you like it here with the village.
Yeah, welcome.
Javier Arellano, oh boy. Arellano. I'm not butchering it that bad, am I?
I didn't know they put them on there already this morning.
Oh,
Can we just start it this morning?
Well, anybody that gets started in the streets department, as short as you've been, we're happy to get them here. So how do you say his last name?
Actually out hauling for us.
Is he? Well, good. So how do you say his last name, boss? Okay, I don't feel so stupid, do I?
Ariana.
Arellano.
Yeah.
Okay. Jeffrey Nunley, Airport Line Service Tech.
Right,
Yay.
Jeffrey.
Yes. Glad to have you. And you've been around a long time. Yes, sir. Yeah, we're glad to have you. Yes, well, we're glad. Hopefully you enjoy it. Promotions. Daniel Bastardo. Yes, sir. We get compliments on you all the time out at the airport.
Good job, Daniel.
Thank you very much. Your airport line technician supervisor. Yes, sir. So we appreciate you, but no kidding, we do get, that's the front door for a lot of people in this community, and they always mention you by name. So you do a great job out there, so
Way
we
to go.
appreciate you very much.
Congratulations.
Ryan Blanchard, street supervisor. Awesome.
Yay.
All right, Ryan. Congratulations. Thank you for all your hard work.
Yes,
You guys
thank
have
you.
a lot of work, and you'd stay after it. Transfers, Daniel Ray from the fire department to airport, effective 10/8. Thank you very much, Daniel. Hopefully the improvements and the changes we make out there, you're going to be happy with, so. You bet.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anthony Luna from Parks and Recreation to airport. Congratulations. Hopefully you like the airport. And we've got some new equipment we were able to obtain on a grant, right, Lee? Have we ordered it yet?
No.
Soon, okay. But we're working grants and the new runways and the lighting. Is the lighting almost done? Almost, and we'll be through with that. So that's a total of about almost $14 million
Wonderful.
that we were able to obtain grants that went in to keep that up to snuff. Matthew Ligori?
Yes.
Oh, Matthew, is that how you're,
Yep.
I say it right?
Yep.
Well, congratulations, you're going out to the airport. All right. Did I tell you about the time Matthew fell off my roof? Did you tell anybody? I knew you would, that's fine.
Oh, so he's going to the airport?
Yep, he's going. So Parks and Rec, you got a few hires and you lost some. So
Dadgum.
sorry, T-Bone.
I think it's a net negative.
Yeah. But anyway, we know T-Bone and Matt, those guys will keep it going.
Oh, that's great.
So then we'll go into presentation of employee and department of the quarter. She's new, but she's not that new. For quarter 3, July through September, the employee of the quarter is Nicole Houston.
Yay!
Nicole came in and she took over the executive administrative assistant position. And she didn't get to talk very much, but you get to talk today.
Oh, great. Hey.
So we want to tell you how much we appreciate you, all the hard work, keeping us straight on
Yes,
everything
thank
that you
you.
do.
Thank you.
And so we get her picture over here.
That's where I belong, is on the ground, that's okay.
So, but we appreciate all your hard work.
Thank you.
So was the job just as easy as you thought it was?
Yeah, definitely.
It was?
No.
Is Yvonne a good teacher?
I had the best teacher, yes. So I'm lucky with the best teacher and the best everybody back there, and it's been fun, and every day feels different sometimes, so that's
yeah.
fun. Yeah, keep me on my toes, and I've really enjoyed my time, and this is a great recognition, so
Well,
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank
For all
you.
your hard work. We appreciate
Appreciate
you
it.
very much.
Thank you.
Yay.
Congratulations, Nicole. And she keeps the calendar straight.
Yeah, she does.
So I know she's got a tough job, but we appreciate what she does. But we'll go ahead and read the little paragraph. Did you write this yourself, or did we actually write it ourselves? Okay, well, you get to hear it for the first time. Nicole is such an important part of the village staff. She has done an amazing job for us since day one, and she always has a smile on her face and a positive attitude. She has a heavy workload to balance each day, and on top of that, is always willing to offer help to anyone that needs it. She is a professional and gives excellent customer service to the public. We love to tease her and tell her, Houston, we have a problem. That was brand new, just for you. She always is willing to help solve any problems that are at hand. Thank you, Nicole, for all that you do. And I concur with that 100%.
Yay.
Thank you very much. Okay, the Department of the Quarter, Jennifer was talking about them earlier. Water distribution, you guys come on down, walk around over here. The Water Department always works hard and has been working hard shorthanded for quite some time. These employees go out and install, replace, and repair water and sewer lines. They also get called out when needed after hours and throughout the night to repair water leaks and help with snow removal. These guys and girls always come together as a team to get the work done. The staff and the community appreciate your hard work, and we thank you for all you do. Congratulations. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad you're here. Thank you, guys. Good job. Appreciate it.
Marty, you gotta hang out.
Yeah, you gotta take it. And where was, did Adam already come through? You gotta get your picture. But no kidding, these guys are out there when it's cold and they're wet
All the time.
and it's hot and they're wet. But anyway, these guys stick after it, and we certainly appreciate all that these guys do. So can you get them all in there, Cheryl? Make sure you're in there, guys. Now you just scoot over.
Don't be scared.
1, 2, 3.
All right, thank you. And then, of course, Marty's the supervisor. Wave your hand, Marty. Raise your hand. Marty's the supervisor over there. And then the big kahuna's the guy in the corner over there, Adam Sanchez. So these guys, no kidding, I don't hear complaints. They just get it done. I get the ding that goes off in the middle of the night, a water leak somewhere. They go over there and take care of it. And so we appreciate what you guys do. Hopefully,
Yes,
we're going to get you some more guys for your Army, because it does take a lot of expertise to do what you guys do. So thank you.
Yeah, thank
Appreciate
you
it.
so much.
Thanks, Adam. Oh, and you got this too.
Thanks, Josh.
Marty,
Marty, you got this deal too. So you get to take the fake bear home for a quarter. The bear home for a quarter, and then you keep this on your wall. Thank you very
all right,
much.
thank you,
Appreciate
Marty.
you guys.
Good job.
Bye.
So that's why we move things on the agenda, so they can get back after. But that was timely, Jennifer. Thank you. Okay, and next we'll have Samantha. Samuel, come on down, and you bring in your sidekick, Stephanie, for this one. Okay, Metropolitan Redevelopment Plan update. We might just give everybody a brief history of what that Metropolitan Redevelopment Area Act does.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. The Metropolitan Redevelopment Area is a tool that we can use for economic development to entice public-private partnerships. It offers different abilities to do tax incentives. It allows for different options when it comes to workforce housing. And so it's mainly a tool for our economic development toolbox. We have one in place that goes from the Y at Highway 70 in Sudworth up to Main Street at the Circle, at the roundabout past Midtown. So currently, we've had that for just over a year now, and we've already put in place the facade grant, which was $230,000 invested back into our Main Street district, and without this tool in place, we wouldn't have been able to use that. Now we're looking to establish one from Sudworth and Meacham up to the top of Swiss Chalet. And so, as many are aware, the village owns properties along Meacham Drive that we're looking at to expand workforce housing. This metropolitan redevelopment area, once it's adopted, would enable us to do that and provide for additional units along Meacham, give us leverage on a 9% tax credit application to the New Mexico MFA, and so that application will go in January. So with that, we're pushing hard on an aggressive timeframe to get this plan adopted by the end of this calendar year. We have received a grant in the amount of $50,000 that is being utilized to develop this plan. We have established a steering committee, which has met, comprised of multiple stakeholders along Meacham Drive, and they've given their opinion on what could help enhance that district. Here on the 27th, we have a public meeting for anyone in the community that may have project ideas to improve Meacham Drive. And that goes anywhere from sidewalk to lighting to vacant buildings, land that's been for sale and has not sold. And we've seen some that have been listed for over 6 years. So we're looking at those properties and seeing what can be done to hopefully get some movement and economic development in this new corridor. I do believe that Swiss Chalet has a lot of potential, and some of the properties that have been vacant and have had several ideas of what could be developed but haven't been able to quite get there because of the lack of infrastructure. And so this plan will help us identify those and move forward, and we'll be bringing a designation boundary to you all in November, and then for final plan adoption in December.
It's at the 27th of this month, right? And
Yes.
what time and where?
It's going to be at the community center. We haven't started to advertise it. I'll be working with the agency to get that out. They have created it, but it will be at the community center.
Okay.
We're looking at 5:30 p.m.
And then this Metropolitan, this will also aid us in getting more points for the 9% tax credit program from the Housing Authority.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So we need all of the points that we can get for our application in hopes to develop 72 units of apartments.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? We just want to give you an update because to be able to qualify for the points for the housing, we have to have this in by November.
By our application deadline, which is about the third week of January.
January,
Yes.
okay. All right, well, good job. Thank you, Samantha.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
And then we'll get an update on the New Mexico 48 and Suttereth Drive repaving or not repaving project.
Mayor Crawford, members of the council, I can provide an update. The original date on this project for all of Suttereth was going to be September 28th. That's what we were told by Francisco. He's the District 2 engineer. That changed to November 5th. I had a conversation week before last. They decided, due to the end of it being so close to winter, that they would postpone this project till spring of 2024. We're looking at possibly April timeframe, but we'll let everyone know when that takes place. So I did visit with the superintendent of the area, mentioned that, we could be having some snowstorms and them doing their project at the same time. It's a mill and overlay project. And Mountain States Construction is the contractor that's been awarded this project. And so we'll continue to inform our residents, work with the Department of Transportation with PSAs and all that information regarding this project, so.
Yes, ma'am.
Ron, there's some pretty bad potholes, especially down by the fire station, all through there, Chamber, all the way down. Can we mend potholes?
Sure.
Yes, and Mayor Crawford, Councilor Lutterman, I'll get with Adam here. We'll work on those. We'll also let the district know that also, the maintenance supervisor.
We just have to kind of ask permission to fix the,
Yes, but there's some that were repaired.
Yeah.
I saw some, but there is others.
Yeah,
And it's going to even get worse with the snow removal, so.
yeah, I hadn't said anything, but, because I thought we were going to repave it, but
Yep.
I think
and to let everybody know that's a state highway, so the state puts up the funding, they dictate, we worked with them, so they wouldn't be doing it over Labor Day. Now it looks like we're going to be working with them to not touch Memorial Day.
Yes.
And so they held off, but they're in charge of that. That's one reason we can't have crosswalks, we can't have other things on there, that it's a state highway, and they will not do it for other reasons. We've talked to them about it before. So anyway, we got everybody ramped up and then we didn't do anything.
Exactly. And we'll continue to inform the public on this, on the progress on this project, and try to get Francisco back on one of our council meetings prior to that timeline.
And I understand they were short material, having trouble Mountain States
Yes.
contracting, couldn't get here in time or something.
Correct, yes.
All right. All right, well, thank you. Boards and commission appointments, don't have any, but we do need a replacement to put on the library board. So if anybody has any interest, knows anyone that would like to, they can fill out an application, be happy to talk to them. Out of all the boards and commissions that we have, and we have many, over 100 different volunteers, all the positions, except for this new one, are full. So that's a testament to the people in the community that get out there and take care of their community.
And it is a good board to be on.
Yeah, it is, and they do so many wonderful things. And they got a brand-new air conditioner. How long have they been waiting on that? A year, year and a half?
2 years.
3 years?
10 years has it been.
And Mayor, we can't hear it, so I don't know, it's.
Not even, is it
we're
really
still
working if you
talking
can't
loud.
hear it bang?
Jenny's talking loud all the time, and it's because we're trying to, but now it's, we're all good.
I know Di and everybody at the library are very happy about that, but it used to, we could hear in the council rooms and the
Well.
executive council room.
Yep.
So anyway, but I'm tickled they got that done, and so it's almost finished.
Correct.
Awesome. Okay, we'll go to village manager's report.
All right, Mayor, members of the council, I'm going to have Stephanie Long, who's going to provide an update on the Wingfield House.
This is our new curator. She's had a little
Here it
time
is.
to put some things together, so.
And she's really working hard. She has the upstairs, she has her offices, she's putting together, she has shelving systems, she's done a lot up there, so we're waiting on, and I'll let her just give the info.
Yeah, you're still in
Thank
my
you.
thunder.
I know,
there.
I am still in her thunder.
We're glad to have you.
My name's Stephanie Long. I'm the
here a
manager
month.
and curator. Been here about a month. Still squatting over here in the executive suite, so if you see me sitting there looking lost, that's where I am. A few things going on with the Wingfield House. We do have an alarm system installed now, so that took place pretty quickly. So we're feeling comfortable in moving some objects in there. I didn't want to do that until we had the security system in place. Like Ron said, I do have an office now. I have a desk and everything. And we do have some shelving installed in one of the smaller storage areas upstairs. We do have some limited storage space on site, but we are still looking for, some off-site storage. I'm anticipating the warehouse at the end of Indiana Jones. I don't know if that's realistic or not, but.
Oh, yeah, that's not realistic.
So we'll be working on that over the next few months, hopefully, looking at identifying a space for that to happen. I am planning, I've been talking with Susan about moving in some of the objects that have already been approved through you guys here, and getting them into the building and start processing them and making sure that those are taken care of and getting into our database system and that kind of thing. I'm not quite ready to work over there full-time without internet or a phone, but that's definitely in progress. This week, we've seen light happening there.
We have somebody behind us that'll be talking about that in a few minutes.
Like this.
So once that happens, I'll be over there instead of over here. Let's see, we have some plans to do some strategic and master planning in the near future. So I'm on my third round of trying to find dates where everybody can meet for that. The goal will be to set a mission for the museum, set out some strategic goals, get an idea of what the scope of our collection is going to be, how broad a field we want to be, and what we're going to be interpreting at the museum. So that should be happening. I just sent out some dates for November, so hopefully we'll find a date that works for everybody in November. And that will be with some of the staff and with our Cultural and Natural History Committee. So let's see. I drafted a new collections policy to govern how we take in objects and how we use them. It's still in draft stage. I'm waiting for the strategic planning session to go through to finish up a couple of things that'll go in there. But that's been through legal review, and I know Ron took a look at it, and Mike did as well. So it's kind of nearing final draft stage, so hopefully we'll see that soon. And, you know, I'm busy just reading a lot of stuff and learning the local history. There's a lot to learn, learning all about the archaic people who lived here up through the people who are here today. So I'll continue doing that over the next few months, just trying to define what the story is that we want to tell, and identifying different things that we can interpret at the museum. I think I'll be starting with the Wingfield collection and looking at how we can put a display together with that, and then some other kind of temporary changing displays that we can put up while we're waiting to, while we're working on building a collection and getting the broader story of the region together. So that's what I have going on.
Does anybody have any questions for Stephanie?
I do, Mayor. Have you established operating hours and days yet?
Not yet,
Not
no.
yet, so.
No, so it's coming.
Yeah, she's got a long way to go.
Yeah.
And so we haven't started moving in any of the cabinetry or any of that yet?
I have some shelving and that kind of stuff in there, so I can take in a few pieces, so.
Okay.
But, you know, I'm hoping to get lots of things, so,
Oh, you will.
yeah.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you very much.
All right.
For everybody that doesn't know, that's the red roof building across from Slosky's next to Ace Hardware. That
Yes,
will
bright
be
red.
soon open. So anyway, good. We're glad to have you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie.
All right, Mayor and Council, next we have Mr. David Tetrall and Michael Martinez.
And they all said, who's David?
I
Tetrall.
was gonna say, David.
I have him on my phone as David, and I can't ever find him, so.
Yeah. I didn't know you had it. I thought his mom and daddy named him weird when he was born.
Thank you, sir.
You can hand them
Give
to
us
us
the
and we
whole
can pass
thing,
them.
and that way we'll just pass them down.
Thanks, T-Bone.
Thank you.
Mayor and Council, just during the parade on Saturday, I staged there at the Wingfield House. I sat and a lot of people just walking and looking at it, and just there were so many positive, just couldn't believe how beautiful that location was. So it was really nice.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I guess we're talking about the adventure tours?
Adventure tours first, please.
Yes, sir. So we gave away the 4 items on Saturday. We've got a hold of 3 people. There was actually someone at 8 o'clock waiting at our office.
This morning
Yes, sir,
for the slingshot.
for the slingshot.
Okay.
And she was pretty happy. The winner of the Bronco was David Griego.
Oh, wow.
He has a 505 phone number. We have called him and emailed him with no response as of this time.
How
I
long do
believe
we
maybe
give?
Albuquerque.
We gave him a while. A year, I think, was the last one.
I'd help and take it for him and then
Well, they have until December 31st to pick it up.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, sir.
I knew we had a rule in there.
Yes, sir. And then Julia Yoder won the slingshot. She lives in Alto. I believe she's been here about 2 years, and I'm not positive on how long she's been here.
Yeah.
Yep.
We have Kelly Thompson that won the side-by-side, and she's from Brennan, Texas, but she does have a house in Alto. And they're in Texas right now, so they're planning on coming back up. And then we have Isabel Nygren, who won the e-bike, and she is a teacher at Ruidoso Schools.
Oh, awesome.
She is.
So locals had the lion's share of the wins on those.
Half of them.
Half
We'll
of
say
them.
half of
Great.
them. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It was a pretty good turnout. Most of the food vendors had sold out. So it was pretty good, I thought.
Okay. And this was last Saturday.
Yes, sir. Saturday in the park. It was a
Okay.
nice day.
All right, and then we'll get into data and all that stuff later. Do you have that here on how many likes and hits?
We
and-
actually had a couple of different items that council had asked us for last time. Number of tournaments, different types of costs and things like that. T-Bone, if you want to go ahead.
Okay, well, I have the summer report. I have the 23 tournament report. And we had 4 girls' youth softball tournaments, 18 under and 14 under, 2 each. There was a total of 165 teams in the 4 tournaments, and I'm estimating about 9,900 people came to those 4 tournaments. We had 2 youth baseball tournaments, 18 and under, and there was 241 total teams in the 2 tournaments. And I'm estimating 14,600 people came to those 2 tournaments. We had 5 adult slow pitch tournaments with 207 teams, and I'm estimating 6,210 people came to those tournaments. And we had 1 adult soccer team with 12 teams, and about 480 people came to those tournaments. So we had 12 tournaments that brought in approximately 31,200 people. And I'm really probably low on this. I just estimated a family of 4 spends about $207 a day. That could be 1 hotel room, actually, times 3 days. And that, I have a total estimate of $14,500,000 that brought in, and I believe that's really low.
Okay, excellent. I know you guys were busy all summer.
Yes, sir.
I don't know how you did it, really.
And then I have,
Whibbit.
well, we're gonna go through the
Okay.
full financials first.
Okay.
On the passes, we sold, pool entries, there was 8,381 entries. The movie night brought 200 people in. Boys and Girls Club, it brought 32. The puppy pool day brought in 24. The season pass check-in, there was 2,000. And under 3, there was 506 for individual, 11,131 people at the pool. There was 68 pool parties. Swim lessons, we had 122 kids. And then items sold, such as ice cream, chips, pickles, and stuff like that. We had a total concession of $17,830, and we sold over 10,000 items. And the grand total of gross sales was $82,271.50.
T-Bone, do you have a comparison to the prior year?
Actually, we did not. The numbers weren't kept up very good last
Okay,
year.
because I know in 2023, we adjusted the pricing, and that was my concern, is it going to result in a decrease and a bigger net operating loss, or is it going to work out and balance out?
Yeah, I'm not positive with that because
Okay.
I don't think the numbers were kept up as good as they were this year.
Okay.
And Councilmember Coughlin, we do know that we still had an operating loss, and it was probably within 10% of what it was last year. We just don't know the exact
Okay,
numbers.
okay. Yeah, we're always going to have a loss.
Making it affordability for families and all that, that's why we were looking at
Right.
the reduction.
Yeah, with the Whibbit and the pool together, so
Right,
that was good.
Okay.
Then the big numbers on the Whibbit come up.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you, T-Bone, on the season passes, though, there was revenue, right? I mean.
Yes, sir.
You should have added
The
that
total
on
fee
the.
for passes and entries was $42,529.
Okay, so instead of 0 on the pass check-in and under 3, that's included in your total?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, and it's kind of hard to really give an accurate number for those passes because the pass included both the Whibbit and the
Right.
pool, so.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we'll move on to, if there's no more questions, we'll move on to Grindstone. So the gross sales for Grindstone Lake was $369,345, and that's for parking, the Whibbit, and boat permits. The expenses we had were $122,760 for a profit of $246,584. And that was the profit from Grindstone, the recreation area. And we had Whibbit day passes. The gross sales were $207,600. And we sold 10,587 passes. We had 265 season check-in passes. We had 134 individual passes and 38 family passes. And that total was $225,140.
T-Bone, does that check in the number sold of 265? Does that mean they
Had the
came
pass.
and used their pass
Yes,
265
they had the
times?
pass, and so there was no charge.
Okay.
Once they purchased it. Then at the lake, the parking, we had $127,600, and there was 12,496 daily passes sold. We had the Ruidoso annual check-in, there was 469, so that's from people who had the local passes. And veterans, there was 2,012, and there was no charge. And I gave you the total of $127,600. The Ruidoso resident passes, on the website, we sold $1,620 or 162 of them. And in the office, we sold 167 for a total of 329, and that's Ruidoso residents. Lincoln County, we sold 111. And then the New Mexico State, we sold 51. And the total parking was $134,640. And a total number of passes sold were 15,468. Annual boat permits, on the website, we sold 147. In the office, we sold 150. And at the lake, the self-serve, we sold 44. And that was a total of $6,820 and 341 passes. The annual boat permits, on the website, we sold 129. In the office, we sold 5. At the lake, via staff is 195, and at the lake, self-serve was 220. And so the single-day boat permits, we sold 549 for $2,745. The total boat permits, we sold 890 for $9,565. And that's all I have, if you have any more questions.
I have a question.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so on the tournaments, the softball and all, so I understand all the people that it brings in for restaurants, hotels, all the downtown stuff. But our people, we don't charge, right? We don't, do we charge for those tournaments?
Yeah. We do. We charge, if they're using school property, and I'll give an example of the baseball tournament, we build fields at White Mountain. They'll pay $40 a team, 20 goes to the school, 20 goes to us, and then they pay $20 a team.
A day?
For the weekend.
For the tournament.
And we also charge for the fields.
Okay, but is that covering the overtime for our
No, it
people?
doesn't.
No.
It doesn't cover that.
So, Councilmember Letterman, one of the things that we want to do in the off-season is take a look at the contracts that we have with some of these groups. There's a couple of things that we want to look at to work out as we look at these bigger tournaments. Everything from kind of, and I understand that the concept is to make sure that it's still affordable and we're bringing everyone in. But we do want to at least bring back to council an idea of what those costs look like. So we're gonna be looking into those a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that's important. I mean, I think it's important, that we're bringing, it's fun to watch them have fun, but then you see and actually, they don't leave a lot of trash. It's not that it's so trashy, but there is cleanup, pickup all weekend long so that there isn't trash.
Yes, and we also take
And
care
the
of the fields if it
bathrooms.
rains.
Yes.
Back when I started, it really wasn't about making any money on the tournaments. It was about gross receipts and making sure they had
Lodger's tax.
a good place to have tournaments, and everyone loves to come to Ruidoso.
I
Times are changing, and we understand that, but that's how it was in the past and kind of still is.
And we probably will also take that data that we have now, that we've captured, and look at increase in lodger's tax and what those benefits are, and give those examples to council as we move forward as well. So it'll be the ability to look at everything as a whole.
But at the same time, when you hear complaints about the cost to participate in the tournaments, so the promoters are making a killing.
Yep.
And we're basically subsidizing them to make their killing, and at the same time bring people in. It's a balancing act that needs to take place.
Well, I think some tournaments make more than others, like the baseball, they really make the money. Whereas I don't think the adult makes as much, and/or the youth girls. And I'm not saying they don't make money, but it's the baseball that really makes the money.
Right.
Okay.
I've got a couple of things on the financials. So from looking at this, what I'm seeing is the passes that are being sold, and the passes go for both the pool and the Whibbit. The income from selling the pass is going in under the Grindstone financials, which inflates the profit. And I know the profit off of that gets split among a couple of different things here. But you're automatically shorting the pool because they're not getting anything off the revenue of selling the pass, but the people are coming in there for free. The other thing that I'm not seeing here on Grindstone is the revenues from the concession fees, which I think needs to go into that, because that is revenues coming into Grindstone Lake.
I actually didn't get that on here.
Yeah, and maybe that might be something that might help offset a little bit, so you could throw some money back over to the pool. Because when you look at the pool, we've never made money, but I remember coming on the council, it used to be like $80,000 a year we were losing. And, you know, this is 118, which is actually not bad compared to some of the previous years. You're never gonna make money off the pool. You're just not going to. But that might be something to consider for.
And we'll go ahead and include that, and I apologize, we need to get our last statement on here. It roughly came in at about, I believe it was about 38,000 total. I think the other thing to take into consideration is that next year, the village will be taking over, those operations. And so,
good.
as we start looking at, our initial costs of setup, and then what we're looking at for sales as well, that will be a larger projection than what we've included in the last couple of years. And we'll have that 2 or 3 year turnaround.
I didn't know that decision was already made, but this is a good first report as far as financials go. And the first time you do it, there's always little tweaks. But this is really good. I like what you guys have put together here.
I do have another thing that's not in your packet, and that's the concerts in the park, the multiple events, the Party in the Pines, and Ride Ruidoso. The concerts in the park brought in a total of $13,273 on September 16th. On September 15th, it brought in only $49.92. The multiple events that we had in the park brought in a total of $41,676, and that's the Party in the Pines on February 14th and June 6th. And Ride Ruidoso brought in a total of $23,636, and that was a total of $83,576, and there was 2,362 people that came. And out of that, of course, Hold My Ticket takes a percentage.
Right. I'd suggest in the future, we do a profit and loss on those things as well, because one of the things I noticed from this last weekend, people were complaining about the $10 entry fee. But then somebody.
That's not our money.
No, I know, but of course it falls back on the village.
Sure.
Yes.
And somebody came out, and I'm not gonna say who it was, but they were very knowledgeable and said, well, that helps to pay for the cost of the bands and all the other stuff.
Fencing, trash pickup.
Right, and people don't understand all those costs, they just go $10. But that might be good information for the future, to get it out to the public, to let them know that, you know, $10.
Vendors fees
but-
too, they were complaining about vendors fees.
Yeah.
And this is all Chamber of Commerce business, so
Yeah.
they can do what they want to on it.
In the next financial, Mayor and Council, what you'll see is you'll start seeing some of the contributions from lodger's tax overall. You're gonna start seeing these breakouts a little bit more by percentage. And then an idea of whether, recommendation on whether the funding that we're putting into these events should be allocated differently. And so that's just giving you an initial snapshot of where we're at today, and then what we'll be bringing back in the future, so.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks, T-Bone.
When were you going to have Eddie come up?
Mayor, members of the council, I guess we could have Eddie come up first, and then we'll have Johnny Montoya come in after Eddie. Come on up, Eddie.
Won't take Eddie long. He's already
Thanks,
told us
Michael.
his name and. Just because we had a lot of people in town that are getting ready to shoot another movie and going door to door talking to businesses, so they had questions. So go ahead, Eddie.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. We have, the first thing popping up right now is we have sent in a letter of intent for the Ironman Triathlon. That was sent in last week. The mayor had signed off on it. And we are the very first destination to actually send in the LOI for Ironman for 2025. So I had a conversation with the regional director, Judy Stowers, the one we had had a conversation with, and she's very excited about the possibilities of working with us. And we're working on the proposal now with Carrie and her team and, Mike and everybody else here. And we're hoping to get that in as soon as we can so we can hopefully get a good shot at getting Ironman hopefully in 2025.
Tell people that don't know what Ironman is.
Sure. Ironman is the largest triathlon in the world. It's international. It's between 10 to 15,000 people that would affect us here. It is 2,500 athletes coming from 50 different countries from around the world. And it is well known. It's been around for about 40 years or so. And it reaches about 30 million people each time an event happens, whether it's through YouTube, through different television networks, and also through print media. So you can imagine every single publication for runners, bicycles, destination magazines will all be here. And it's pretty exciting stuff. So then we actually had a call today with Xterra, which is the kind of, it's the more aggressive version of Ironman, which is the second largest triathlon. So the managing director of North America is coming out in November to actually meet with everybody. And we're trying to coordinate that now so we can see if we can have that in 2025 as well. That's about 8 to 10,000 people. And that's international, 40 different countries participating. So we have an opportunity to have the two largest triathlons in the world here in 2025, potentially for 5 years solid. That's a huge economic impact for everybody. So that's very exciting stuff, and it will definitely it'll be international news. So we have that happening. We also are working on movies. We have a 40% tax credit opportunity here in New Mexico, and we have had, just recently, we've had 2 feature films come through. We had the Paul Greengrass film. He is the director of the Bourne Identity movies. And Captain Phillips works with everyone from Tom Hanks to Matt Damon. The location scout came in who just finished the Oppenheimer movie. He was here and had a chance to meet with village leadership. And it's between us and Georgia right now. So it's about 200 people coming in 2024 to potentially be here working on the film. And hopefully we'll get a lot more of those. We also had the San Francisco Christmas movie come in a couple weeks ago, and we had a really productive location scout with them. And I'm just waiting right now for Ross Marks, the director, to come back and say, we're good to go, and these are the dates, and these are the locations, and they have everything planned out. But that will bring a lot of people in the village too for probably about a month, working on the film. So the movie stuff is exciting, it's great, and brings people in and helps with economic impact. And hopefully we get a lot more of those coming through. I also have one more thing that just popped up, and I'm friends with a kickboxing championship organization. And the owner of the group is called Lion Fights. They're a part of the UFC. They work with UFC, and they do events at, say, like the Hard Rock or all the big casinos in Las Vegas. They do pay-per-view. It's internationally televised events. They've given us an email confirmation saying they'd like to do 2 events, 2 championship of boxing events here in Ruidoso, if it was possible. So that's something that we're talking with now and kind of seeing if all the pieces fit, but that would be 2 sold-out nights at the convention center, complete maxed out, internationally televised events. And they said that they would like to possibly, the big deal is the weigh-in part of it. So they do a big, a big television thing with the weigh-in, and they would be able to do a highlight on Ruidoso and be able to talk with the leadership group and be able to talk with local businesses and say, why are they here in Ruidoso? And it'd be a great marketing opportunity for us to, get that out to that community, I think. So it's something that we're working on. It's just kind of popped up recently. So whether it's movies, triathlons, kickboxing fights, all kinds of cool stuff happening here, so.
Good.
Yeah.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie. Mayor, members of the council, have Johnny Montoya. He'll be providing us an update on our broadband build-out project and also on the 911.
Windstream Kinetic and all the Cascade trucks
Yes,
that are in
sir. Good
town.
afternoon, Mayor,
Am I getting
members of the
internet in my
council.
neighborhood? That's
Yep,
what
your
everybody's
neighborhood.
asking.
My name is Johnny Montoya. I'm the Vice President of Windstream
Excuse me,
Kinetic.
John, is that light green right there?
It's green, sir. Sorry, it's just not
Okay,
close enough.
there, get closer.
Good morning, good afternoon. Johnny Montoya. I'm the Vice President of Windstream Kinetic, based out of Las Cruces. And with me is Donald Hobbs. Donald Hobbs is out of Hobbs, coincidentally. And he is our subject matter expert on everything 911. So hopefully, if it's okay with you, Mr. Mayor and the
Absolutely.
City Manager, we'd like to discuss a little bit about the rerouting of 911 and the issue we recently had. And then hopefully give you an update on where we stand with the broadband overbuild for the village of Ruidoso. With regards to the 911 issue, I know it's been a hot button. City Manager, Village Manager and I have been on the phone quite a bit. And it was an issue that, quite honestly, there was a lot of moving parts, and in the end, the issue lies with Lumen, who partners with Entrada on PSAPs throughout the state. We have tested our equipment.
That's the manufacturers of the equipment that we use.
No, sir. I'll let go.
Okay, yeah, you're speaking Greek or whatever over there, so just plain English, who's Lumen and?
Lumen is CenturyLink.
So,
Okay.
yeah, Lumen is now called, or was CenturyLink. But the state has, for the whole state, 911 goes through CenturyLink or Lumen now. So a part of that is for the 911, they have a subcontract with Intrepid, or not Intrepid, Entrada. So this is throughout the whole state. So even in Hobbs or Lee County, because I handle everything but Ruidoso and TRC that Windstream has in New Mexico, and also deal with West Texas. But in New Mexico, I'll just use it as an example. New Mexico only, goes through Lumen, and then, they have their subcontracts. But a part of that is to help us get your services restored. If you could go to, because you pay through Lumen, not through us. We're the last mile of it. We're the last part of it. But if y'all can pressure Lumen, that would help out tremendous. Because they're the actual ones that are over the 911 part of that.
Where do we find that number? Chief, do you have Lumen's phone number? I never heard, you got it, Robin? Okay, well, just tee them up and start calling, because we're doing the changeover to the new consolidated dispatch, and we lost 911 service, and so it's been picked up by the county for over a week, almost 2 weeks.
Mr. Mayor and members of the council, I think the long-term solution is to get 911 on fiber. I mean, obviously, that's the fix. You're still running it on copper. And, that's an order that will have to be placed between the village and Lumen or CenturyLink to get it. We've got fiber to the building, so it's there. But I think that's the long-term solution.
So that, you answered my question. I thought we had fiber at the
No, I
building,
did
so we
too.
do have it and it's been there. So you're saying Lumen,
Where's fiber coming from that we don't
yeah,
have
that
it, or we're not getting?
they won't connect to that fiber, or you guys won't allow them to connect to the fiber?
On that part, if I can use like Hobbs for an example.
Sure.
Lee County has their own PSAP for all of the communities in Lee County.
Right.
So on that one PSAP, we just recently put in fiber to their site. And the county IT director asked us about putting it on fiber. And they would have to, we asked Lumen, and they would have to go through the county would have to go through Lumen to ask that, to get it on there, because it would be just Ethernet after that. So that would be putting that on there, and then you would also go to what's called Next Generation 911, and get off of E911, which would be allow different things for, let's say your dispatcher could have text to, call to text, so that they can be listening in, and it also put up the text on their screen, so that they can see it. The E911, remember the 56K dial-up modems?
Oh, yeah.
That's the same, basically the technology, the same technology that we're using now for 911.
But why is it taking 2 weeks to get us restored and we're still not there?
Part of that is the equipment that is used, because it is old equipment.
I thought we got all new equipment.
Mayor, that's in the dispatch center itself, but you're saying out in the field.
Yes. The equipment that is used to bring that to the 911 center, that is 40-year-old, technology. And majority of that equipment has been manufacturally discontinued. So in order to, if we have a bad card or anything that is bad, we have to search and find, a replacement for that. And sometimes, we have to go.
And whose equipment is that?
That is Windstream's.
Whose?
Windstream. But like right now, for the last week, they asked us to move the alley circuit, which is the ANI so that you can see who's calling. Caller ID. They asked us to move that to a different channel bank, which is the equipment that we used. And we had to find the right card, which we did. We found the cards, brought it over here, but we're still having the same results. We're receiving from the police department, the equipment there, we're receiving signal from them, but we're not receiving signal from Albuquerque into Ruidoso. So that is in between Lumen and Entrada. We can hear, right now it's a tone, it's a talk circuit, so we pass tones across it, because that's the technology that is used. So we have the tone coming from Albuquerque, but we don't never hear, let's say remember the 56K, I'll bring it back up. So when you hear, remember you used to dial up and you hear that noise that you made?
Yeah.
You should be able to hear a chirping noise similar to that on the circuit, just let them know that it's talking. We only hear that from the police department. We do not hear that coming in from Albuquerque.
Okay, so just, because I'm still having a hard time understanding it. You have a cell phone, you live right over here, and you make a phone call 911. It doesn't go to your hub over here, it goes to the Verizon antenna, then it goes to Albuquerque,
Yes.
and then it comes back.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that's where it's getting lost, is to come back to the old equipment?
Yes, well, we have, the talk circuits are up. You can make a 911 call and it would actually reach the 911 center right now, but they're not receiving any caller ID information. And without that caller ID, you do not know who's calling, you can't look up any of that information, an address or anything of that nature.
And so, with it being an emergency service, Lumen wouldn't be, you'd think that they'd be highly motivated to get in there and do something.
You would think.
Yeah, and Mr. Mayor and council members, the reason why we're using manufactured discontinued old equipment is because that's the connection we have to use with what Lumen's bringing to us. So we're not choosing to use old equipment. We'd like to get you on fiber or to get the system on fiber so that it works the way it should be working. So we're forced to use manufactured discontinued equipment because that's what's coming in through Lumen.
So why didn't we know that we needed to contact Lumen to get the equipment so that we can do this right?
First we've heard of it, but.
And then wasn't there a test or something done prior to say, hey, it's good to go at the 26 to go into the building?
Yep. We were told we're good to go.
Yeah, I think part of the issue when we got the call, obviously part of the issue was we replaced a whole shelf. We tried to find cards, so we wanted our stuff to be clean. We thought it was us at first. So I think a lot of time was wasted with us having to find equipment to fix a discontinued products, find cards that were all over the country, only to find that that's not the issue. The issue is through Entrata and Lumen.
So in basic language, it's like a translator. We're missing in the middle. This person's speaking this language, this person's speaking this, but we're not translating that language from the old to the new. But aren't there 911 centers that you service throughout the state that have new equipment? No, we're the first ones?
I have none.
So they're all running old antique?
In New Mexico.
In New Mexico. In the state of Texas, in my office in the state of Texas, we use newer style.
How do they handle that translation from the old to the new?
Right now, majority of those, because Texas is different, they
Right.
don't have just a one provider, but they use T1 connectivity, and then some of them are going to Ethernet.
Okay.
Which is, like connection through fiber, internet or
So
web-based.
they're
type of-
running 2000 technology,
And we're
not
still-
1980s?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, sir.
So we get sold equipment.
We're ahead of the curve, and we're the guinea pig, is what it sounded like, to get this worked out in New Mexico.
We're pushing for the Hobbs PSAP or the Lee County PSAP, we're pushing them to get their equipment changed, to get that also. Because we just put fiber in there and they want it, so, but we went to Lumen, but we're just the last mile. We're not we're not the end customer and we're not the provider at the other end. We're
Right.
just in the middle.
So is this something the state of New Mexico specifies, that you have to use
I don't think,
Lumen in the old technology?
That's a good question. I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. That's a good question. I don't know how the Lumen contract is with all the PSAP statewide. I don't know if
If
that's.
anybody knows anybody at the state level, it's you.
Yeah,
And
that I don't know.
call her
I do
up and
know that,
ask her.
The
Yeah,
village manager and I are both trying to get in touch with the vice president of Lumen at this time. I just don't know how that contract is, why they have an exclusive contract for the PSAP statewide.
Well, and why they're stuck in, you're saying 56K, I'm remembering 9,600K.
Right.
And you'd sit there and listen and start your computer, log in and go get lunch and then come back and be in.
right.
But that's ridiculous for 911.
So bottom line, how long are we gonna be using the county? Do we not have an idea until we get Lumen?
Our side is ready to go. So as soon as Lumen, what are they doing?
They have a ticket open with Entrata, but when we call, we can't get any information from Entrata because we're not Lumen. But if y'all could call Entrata, and you might be able to find,
Do you have Entrada's number, Robin?
I called Entrata and they still they're not providing any information. They said it wasn't anything urgent. So on our end, we need to call DFA again and talk to the E91 Bureau. They're the ones that pay the bills. They pay for Lumen and for Entrata, so.
Okay,
And-
well, let's go on to
I'll get with the
some
village manager after
positive
this
news.
meeting.
Yeah, this is just
Yeah.
a nightmare.
And Mr. Mayor, I hate to sound like we're pointing fingers, because a lot of the delay was on us, trying to get our equipment brought in from all over, trying to get a cabinet replaced. So there was some delay on us. We're not here to blame anybody else. But in the end, we found that the issue is with Lumen and Entrata, and we're ready to connect as soon as they get their side done.
Okay, so tell us about all the Cascade cable companies in town in different neighborhoods, boring under roads and all that good stuff.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, also with me in the audience is Raul Munoz. Raul Munoz is our project manager. He's our project inspector for the Ruidoso overbuild based out of here. And I also brought Sonny Lucero with me, and Sonny is out of our Espanola office, who's in charge of permitting and right-of-way agreements throughout the state. So if there's any questions specific to that, we have some experts in the room. Where we're at now on the overbuild is we are 72% complete with our agreements with PNM on joint use agreements. So the agreements to use their poles, were 72%. Now, we were talking 3,000 poles, we were talking a lot. Started off slow because they were only allowing 50 poles to be processed at one time.
Yep.
They increased that to 300. It started to move things through fairly well. So we're getting the agreements we need through PNM. The good news is we are very close. I'm talking weeks away from turning up our first 500 customers in Ruidoso. That'll be a good move for us because that's a start of a wave of, we agreed that we would turn customers up as polygons were were turned on, right? So as we were qualified, we turn folks up, we let customers know, and we move forward that way. So we will turn up 500, then we have another 1,300 in the queue after that. So we will gradually see customers.
Is that by apartments of town, location, or is it, how does that work? When you say turn on, the first 500, is it a specific part of
Well,
town?
is the mayor in the first 500?
Yeah,
That's the question he's trying to get to, isn't it?
Yeah.
I have a handout for you, if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor and members, that shows what our priority, what areas will be turned up soon and what areas we're working on next.
Okay, and I was wondering how fast Midtown's going to be available for the businesses to get the,
Raul, do you have any idea when Midtown is due to be, where we stand on Midtown?
We're kind of focusing on the residential areas right now, so that's definitely coming down the line. I'm guessing weather permitted, January.
So, Mr. Mayor, and what we're going to do, and we committed this, that we are going to focus on high-dense areas first, right? So we can get the most people connected as soon as possible. So the higher dense areas will go first, and then we'll have to get to the more rural, the more 1, 2 off residents. Also, we have a marketing plan in place, so as we get customers qualified, there's door knocking, there's door hangers going out, there's direct mail that will go out. We will engage our entire, we call it a Fiber Fast program, to let customers know what they'll pay and when they'll be qualified for service. So that plan will be activated. And then also, we've been very active with the chamber. We were gold sponsors of Aspen Fest. We are also going to be gold sponsors of the Festival of Lights event coming up. So we're trying to engage the community to be out there as much as we can and let people know what's going on. More than willing to do the radio show or however we can let customers know what is happening. With these projects, it's a big project, 8,000 households throughout the village. There are some obstacles. So I'm not going to complain. I'm going to tell you what obstacles we faced and what obstacles we continue to face, but I think we'll work through them. The first one is, I mentioned, our joint use agreements with PNM. Those are going well. There is an issue with PNM and TDS, whereas when we get an agreement with PNM to put our lines on a pole, TDS is the lowest. They're required to move theirs up, right? So that's kind of a delay because PNM just notified TDS recently that they're going to have to move their lines up. And I'm talking elementary language. I'm sure it's more complicated than that. We have offered, or we will offer, to see if our crews can move their lines up to just speed things along while we're up there putting our line. Can we move theirs up? So there's things that we're going to work out to get that done. But I'm just laying them out there so that we know there's some obstacles.
Is there a reason why it has to be in that order and you can't be up?
That's where they are. TDS is above us right now. So when they would transfer to the new pole to make everything fit, they would go up first and then we'd come up underneath them.
Okay, and that's gonna be a bottleneck.
I don't know. I mean, we work with it all the time. I mean, I'm just kind of laying it out there as, I think it was a late start on that end from a PNM TDS standpoint, but our crews can help move that along and see how it
They'll
goes.
allow you to do it.
Yeah,
Because
it's
they
not,
don't
it's
have
not
the-
alarming, but
they don't
it
have the
is an issue.
technicians to do that.
And then if I may, Mr. Mayor, along those lines, when you're talking on a pole, but if you're in a part of town that doesn't have any poles, everything is buried.
Correct.
Does that mean then you've got to come bore up to the street and then into the individual house? How do you get into the house?
Berry drops, what they'll come in is they have like a vibrating plow. They'll just come in and plow that to the house from where the connection is being made in the neighborhoods. So that would be how they would get to the houses.
so when people are calling and they're working in their neighborhood, just tell them coming soon because you'll have a marketing plan, you'll have flyers, door hangers, all that. So
That's correct.
That means that they'll be probably first on the list?
That means that they'll be pretty close.
Okay, well, that's what I'm gonna tell them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and leave the guys alone, because they were out there asking the guys if they getting internet. So, anyway, and we'd like to talk more about Midtown businesses, because those guys, when they get hammered on the busy weekends, it slows up credit card processing and all that other stuff for those guys, so.
I will get that moved, I would get that on the priority list for you, Mr.
All
Mayor.
right, and then if we get the lumens number, we'll start bombarding them from everywhere we can.
Thank you.
To get whatever we can, and that's the way we work. If we have a hitch, we just call us. and then we'll start moving every direction that we can to do it. But
And Johnny, do you have anyone else besides, is there a court, you had a number there, never answered. Do you have anybody else we can contact?
I don't know. Let me think about it.
I'm gonna call Danny Ferguson. He knows everybody,
He may know someone else.
and he may know somebody, so we'll call
I'll try to
Danny.
get you another number. Leo Baca's been with CenturyLink for years, and he's based out of Albuquerque. But let me try to get you a number. I know we're in a hurry, Mr. Chairman, but I do want to say that we did hit some rock, in which we knew you planned for it, but we hit some unexpected rock as we were boring and installing fiber, which was a little bit of a delay. So all that said, things are moving along. They're not moving along at the pace we would like them to. We have hired the construction crew, and they're out there, and they've got more crew ready to come to town. So as soon as that 72% hits 100% of the PNM agreements, they will bring full force into the market. Right now, if they do that and they get kicked off a job, they've got to move crews around. So we're going to do that. But worst case scenario, we've got some obstacles that we're dealing with. I don't think weather's going to be much of a problem. So worst case scenario, I think we may flow into late first quarter of next year before we're 100% completed on the job.
Excellent. Well, it's only taken us 10 or 12 years to get here, but
Yeah.
we're getting awful pushy at the end, so, well, we appreciate it.
And we'll keep you updated.
And just to let you know, with the reallocation of destination tax, GRT in New Mexico, that we got through legislation a couple of years ago and started receiving it, all the construction, the millions of dollars that are going in this project, that GRT comes back to the village. And so we like bringing in all these crews, getting them hotel rooms, and then they eat and drink, so.
Good.
But we appreciate it. Like I said, we'll start reaching out, whatever we can do. And then we need to make sure we got Mr. Hobbs from Hobbs' phone number, do we?
We'll get to that. I'll get to that.
Yeah, anybody comes in here, that's the first thing you lose is your autonomy. I'll take that phone away from you and get your
Get the
information.
weekend phone calls.
You had those flyers there that
Yes, sir, I'm going to pass them out.
Okay,
Thank you.
perfect.
So we'll just make sure we get your number, not to harass you, but to call and
Yep.
harass you.
Yep.
That's what we do. But we're very concerned about the reverse 911 and the 911 calls, because usually the county's just a redundancy, a backup. And so that's one of the things that we've talked about in our internet, fiber broadband, is to have redundancy. So if we have fiber cuts anywhere, we don't have these big outages. So.
I hear you. And we're not here to say it's somebody else's fault. We will work with you to get a hold of somebody else.
Okay.
Thank
All
you
right.
very
Thank you.
much.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Done, manager?
Mayor, members of the council, I'll stand for any questions if anyone else has any.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions?
No.
See the chief's following them out. He's wanting to know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's like the Flintstones talking to the Jetsons, you know?
Yeah.
That's awful, though.
Okay.
2 weeks.
Yeah. So I want to go ahead and skip over, if nothing else for the manager. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Mayor.
Glad to have you back. Skip over reports from municipal officials and go to public
Good.
hearings.
Good.
Item number 1, public hearing for Planning Commission Case RZ 2023-251, petition to rezone from R1 to C3 for property located at 207 Eagle Drive, Riverside Tract A, Block C of the Ruidoso Springs subdivision. Yeah, y'all can just scoot around the edge right there. And yes, go ahead, Miss Samantha. Let everybody introduce themselves.
Thank you, Mayor. This agenda item is being heard from a petition that we received from our applicants to be heard by the village council. It does come with a recommendation from the planning commission for denial. They base their recommendation on the lack of parking that's already very limited in Midtown in that specific area, and they thought that it would be a detriment to the surrounding neighborhood if they weren't required to have parking for such a large property. In your packet, you'll have a copy of the minutes that will detail of what I just shortened up for you. It used to be zoned C3, and then it became a single-family residence, and now they would like to go back to C3. Stand for any questions you all may have. With me, I have Doug Siddons and Rhonda Burns representing the property owner.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Samantha, our staff at this point? Mr. Cook, do I need to open it up to the public first? Okay. So this is going to be a public hearing, which is a quasi judicial. So what we'll do is we'll get everybody sworn in. We'll make sure that none of the council has had any conversations, what do you call that? Ex parte? Conversations about this beforehand. We need to know about it now if you have. Nope. Okay, if anybody wants to speak to this, be a witness to it, or whatever, we need you to stand up right now. We'll have Mr. Zach Cook swear you in.
Will you all swear?
Yeah, you stand up and
Yeah,
get
you
sworn
guys
in.
might want to.
Okay.
Do you swear affirm that the testimony you give today will be the truth? Yes. Thank you.
All right, that's how simple it is. So, now then, we want to go ahead and ask the petitioner, Ms. Burns.
Yes.
You tell us what you want to, your position.
Well, the sellers have asked me to represent them today in bringing this back to a C3. They made the mistake of moving it to a residential, when they moved it to a residential from a C3. So they're wanting to get it back to a C3. I've had absolutely no luck trying to sell it as a residential. As you know, plus it's hurting y'all on gross receipts tax, not being able to use it back as for what it should be, which would be commercial. So anyway, that's one thing we've been asking for, is just to get that put back into C3, where we're able to sell it. I've got a possible buyer for it if we could get it back to C3. But, I mean, I've had no luck as residential.
Yeah, we, we're surprised. We were able to move it from commercial to residential because of contiguousness and all that stuff. And the council is always good about trying to, especially for business, residential, we try to be progressive in those attitudes. And so, does anybody from the council have any questions for the petitioner at this time?
I do.
Go right ahead.
Well, isn't there enough parking inside?
There's plenty of parking, yes.
I mean, because it was commercial before, I don't understand.
Well, you can't fix some people's outlook on things when they're, haven't been here before and they buy a particular piece of property and they think they're gonna do this, that, and the other with it, and they're doing the right thing by trying to make it fit within their puzzle at that time, and then it doesn't work out for them here, and they want us to fix it. Well, they're not coming back, so we're gonna have a future owner of this property at some point. Its highest and best use is commercial 3. It should have never been reduced to residential.
But I think what she's asking is C3, you have to have 0 parking, correct?
You're not required to
Have
provide
any,
public parking or public.
Yeah, having a building and now then Mr. Irons over here has, you don't have any parking, so you're C3. So that's, we spend a lot of money in public parking. So I think what you're asking is, there's room over there for parking. Why aren't you looking at C1 or C2?
Well, previously, when it was a C3, some of the events that were being held, the property could not contain all the people who attended. I mean, look at that big old giant place on the back where they were having weddings and such, and it overflowed onto the street. But if, I mean.
That happens in every business every day.
It happens everywhere.
I was gonna say,
And,
that
you know,
happens
if it's an
even in
issue,
my
if
business.
parking's allowed on the street, then you park on the street.
Sure.
If they're illegally parked, you come by, you ticket, and you tow, and you do whatever you need to do.
But I think what the counselor's asking is why aren't they asking for C2
Or C1.
instead of C3, no parking on premises? I don't have to have any parking spots. C2, you're required to have how many per?
It depends on the use of the building, and so different occupancy types have different parking requirements.
Permitted uses, all of that.
I believe it was because it was priorly zoned C3.
Oh, is that what it was?
That would make
Was
sense.
What I would-
before, so that's
Okay.
why we just asked for it to be rezoned back to what it was.
Because I think that's why it was turned down from reading the notes.
And the notes were saying that it would be, I think it goes back into the parking, if someone was to buy it and build out all the way to the extent of setbacks and whatnot, and then expect parking to be everywhere else out on us, per se.
I guess that would come into, coming to bring it to you with their planning development, you know, at that time, just like we always do.
Mr. Mayor, I think more to the point, is that, as I read through this, this wasn't just a split vote. I mean, this was voted down by all of those on that commission, and I don't think it was personal at all. I think the, Byers is a chairman of that committee, and or is a standing member of that committee, and has been there for a long time. And I think his issues are that we have a factor X here that we can't define. If you're gonna build I don't know, hypothetically, were you to build condos in there or whatever you wanted to do with it, I know the property very well, then it does come down to an issue of parking. And if you've moved it to a C3 where this is no longer an issue, you pretty much have a wild card. So again, I would ask, why don't you go back to planning and zoning with a C1 recommendation?
I guess we could. I think part of the problem was they were saying it would be next year before we could do it. My problem is I'm trying to get it sold this year, not next year. Is there a way that we could, zone it C1 or 2 now and not have to go through?
Well, I don't think
waiting
you
till
can
next
do
year?
a C2 because there's nothing contiguous to it. C1, possibly, depending upon the interpretation, which I have a different interpretation than most people, because it's not adjoining to the property line, it's across the street. But from what has come before the council before, you would have your choice of 1 or 3 is what it looks like.
So if you had an application to rezone to a C1, you could reapply now. The only reason you'll have to wait out the time is if you reapply for C3.
Oh, if you okay.
Right.
Oh, so I
However-
could go back for C1.
You go back to C1 pretty pronto.
It would be a new book of business, basically.
It really limits the amount of opportunity that the new property owner would have. C3 just adds for more vibrancy to the district, and that's why staff supported it. But like you said, you don't have setbacks, there's no parking or public restrooms required of C3, and I do understand how that could impact the neighborhood.
Well, and I agree with you. When it came to go to residential, I made comments that I thought it was crazy to go to
Well, I tried to
residential.
talk them out of it.
The only thing I could see is it saves them on property taxes. That was about it.
And they could live there.
And they could live there.
Yeah. Yes, sir, Ms. Teeby?
Yes, I wanted to ask Samantha, it's the discussion has gone in the direction of asking for a different zoning in C1 or C2. But one of the commissioners asked there in that particular zoning meeting that could they not request a C1 or C2? And I believe it was your response that you said no, that no, they could only request a C3. So if we're discussing this now, C1 or C2, what is, could you clarify?
It would take a new application if they wanted to go to C1. What they applied for and what the public hearing was advertised for, and the case study is specific to C3.
Okay, so you're just saying, just
New
for
app.
that particular meeting because they applied for that. So it's not that they couldn't do it.
Correct.
Kind of like Allsup's when they
Yep.
came in with the automotive or whatever.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions or comments for the public meeting? Since we didn't have anybody else want to say anything. Okay, so we'll close the public portion of the meeting. And then I would move to discussion on the item to either uphold the, well, you can make a motion however you want to, but as long as it's in the positive.
Well, I'll go ahead and make a motion if you don't mind. I'll move to approve Planning Commission Case RZ 2023-251, petition to rezone from R1 to C3 for property located at 207 Eagle Drive, Riverside Tract A, Block C of the Ruidoso Springs subdivision, ordinance 2023-14.
Second.
Okay, is there any other discussion, so you understand the motions at hand?
So it is zoning it to C3.
It's taking it back to what it was before.
Okay.
So,
Last question, the staff gave the recommendation that it go ahead and be rezoned back to C3. So, and also in the minutes, it stated that you had the pros and cons discussion back and forth. Could you give us a little bit of insight on the pros and cons that were discussed?
I think from an economic development standpoint, it is the highest and best use that it goes back to C3 to add vibrancy to our district. The pros, I feel outweigh the cons. When we look at our comprehensive plan, we are looking for more vibrancy down there. The cons, of course, could be that they can build all the way out to their property line, eliminating any and all parking, not requiring public restrooms, and zero parking spaces. Those are the cons, but I do feel that we have public amenities in the nearby vicinity that could help offset that.
And parking too.
Okay, any other questions?
But to be clear, the recommendation by staff was to approve this.
Correct.
Yes, okay.
And then the commission voted it down.
Right.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Roll call, please, ma'am.
Counselor Coughlin?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, yes, sorry.
Counselor Jackson?
No.
Counselor Eby?
Aye.
Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Counselor Hooker?
Aye.
Okay, there you go. Passes.
We do to help you all.
But they just surprised me. I figured I was gonna get the vote finally. I figured y'all were gonna
I
split
was
that
trying
one
to
up.
signal there, let's get a tie going there.
Thank you, guys, appreciate it.
Y'all have a
You bet.
great day. Thank you so much for that.
Item number 2, public hearing for Planning Commission Case RZ 2023-252, petition to rezoning from C2 to C3 located at 2701 Sutter Drive, Lot 9A, Block A of the Navajo subdivision, ordinance 2023-15.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. This comes with the recommendation to approve the case from the Planning Commission. This is the first property across from Grindstone Canyon Road. As you go up, across the street is Sacred Grounds, just to give you clarification of the location. It's currently a realtor, it's office, it's a realtor and an attorney's office currently.
Full disclosure, it's Zach
Yes.
Cook's office and James
Jim
Russ's.
Russ, yes. And so it comes from a recommendation of staff as well. It doesn't have adequate parking as it is. But the intent with our MRA and the comprehensive plan, and just as we move towards the development of the Wingfield House, is to drag the foot traffic up to at least Starbucks and the Wingfield House. And so I think this just adds to it. And working with Rito Main Street, they can expand their boundary and just open up, hopefully continue that vibrancy and foot traffic down Sudworth Drive.
Okay, well, it's a public hearing, so is there anybody that wants to speak to this? For or against? Just need to be sworn in.
Does Zach have to swear himself in?
Mayor, I think I can just state and affirm that anything that you ask me, I will answer.
You know, that's just you, though.
As an officer of the court.
Okay, we'll close the public portion, and does anybody else have any questions for Samantha? Okay. Need a motion.
Make a motion to approve Planning Commission Case RZ 2023-252, petition to rezone from C2 to C3 for property located at 2701 Sudworth Drive, Lot 9A, Block A of the Navajo subdivision, ordinance 2023-15.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Hooker?
Aye.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin?
No.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
And Counselor Eby?
Aye.
Told you I have a different interpretation of contiguous.
Okay, I get you.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't know.
Sometimes I'm black
That
and white,
wing
sometimes
nut
really
is done
gray.
spun off. Item number 3, public hearing for Planning Commission Case RZ 2023-268, petition for rezoning from M2 to C2 located at 135 Paradise Canyon Drive, lots F1, 8 of Kennedy subdivision, ordinance 2023. Yes, ma'am, -16.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. This case comes to us as a rezone. Mr. Irons is petitioning to redevelop his property into an RV park. He's done a substantial amount of cleanup, removing those old trailers there, so I do commend him from our, coming into compliance and really beautifying that area. Now that he has more room, he's wanting to rezone and go ahead and try and move forward with his RV park, but he cannot do that zoned M2 currently, so he'd like to be considered to C2 Community Commercial District.
Okay, this is a public hearing, so does anybody want to be sworn in to a public hearing? Do you want to say anything, Tanner? It's up to you.
No, I
Okay,
don't think so.
okay, we'll close the public portion. Do you have any questions for Sam or for Mr. Irons?
I do. So previous to, at some point you took over that park and you redeveloped and put the sign up. Prior to that, there were RVs coming in and staying there. So you can't have RVs staying in that zoning?
Once the use desists for over 90 days, the use goes away because he was deemed non-conforming, illegal non-conforming. And so since he deceased, the use, it was no longer allowed to be non-conforming. He needed to come within standards of the M2 district.
So there's nobody staying there right now on the property? Oh, okay. Okay.
Boy, and it looks good too.
Mm-hmm.
Cleaned it up nice.
And as far as the remodel or anything, all the utilities are already in place. So nothing's gonna change. It just needs to be rezoned so that we're in compliance.
Hopefully you get some high-speed internet if it ever gets that way. Montoya's already left the building.
So Sam, does an RV park have a limitation on how long somebody can stay there?
It does not, and I think that's why a lot of our workforce lives in RV parks. It does have requirements because there are some portions of this lot that are in the floodplain that they need to be deemed road-ready.
Okay.
And so that would be the only requirement.
I think that's the big thing.
So previously, as a mobile home park, you could have RVs stay there,
Yes.
short-term or long-term, but as the other, there's no limitation, so, okay.
Any other questions?
But you didn't own that previously with all the
No,
the
it was,
messy stuff, the trailers that,
the older trailers, I've owned it for the last 12 years.
okay.
Yeah, so there was some of it there.
Yeah, I inherited everything that was there.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it used to be part of, to the south of me, it used to be all one tract. And then they separated the tract and I bought the part on the north, and that's where it got split.
Okay.
And that was, actually, I think that was in '09 when I took it over.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve Planning Commission Case RZ 2023-268, petition to rezone from M2 to C2 for property located at 135 Paradise Canyon Drive, lots F1 through 8 of the Kennedy subdivision, ordinance 2023-16.
Second.
Any other discussion?
Yes, question, Sam. On this map that's shown with the zoning, south of the lot, there's a white section. Who owns that?
That's public domain. It's the river.
Okay.
Is that it?
Yeah, that was it, yeah.
Okay. Is this your last hurrah?
No.
You better be glad he's leaving. Usually he just is loading up with all
No,
kinds of problems.
I mean, to me, it's like a road, so I just wanted to make sure that was actually it.
Okay, all right.
Because
So
I
we
did
have,
notice on the GIS map, I went on there and looked earlier, and there's a note on there that says all being updated, but it did say it was supposed to be completed by July of 2023, so we might want to go in there and change that little message.
actually be removed. It is completed.
Okay, well,
We'll get the note updated. Thank you.
yeah, so I didn't know
Counselor.
if this was accurate or not.
okay, so we have a motion, a second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please, ma'am.
Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin,
No.
Counselor Hooker,
Aye.
Counselor Eby,
Aye.
and Counselor Letterman.
Aye.
All right, thank you, congratulations.
Thank you.
But everybody, there was people asking questions, so can you give us a quick update on what you're doing with your building down there? Everybody sees the red iron sticking in the air, and what, do you have any timeframes?
The building downtown got kind of into our asphalt season, which is my moneymaker. We're wrapping it up. We have one more job to complete, and then my crew will go back downtown.
Well, then you had all the work at the track too.
Yeah, and they really hammered us this year at the track. They really did. So that really got into, there's just not enough time.
Well, as soon as you get ready to open, we'll have you on the radio, because we get asked about it 100 times a week.
I'm sure you do.
The Dreamcatcher building.
okay,
Yeah.
yes,
He's the one that's added the second story at the bottom, and people want to know what it's going to be, and praying it's not another marijuana shop.
I just tell everybody the mayor owns it and it's going to become a dispensary.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, you will see our crews back down there probably within the week. Well, next week, actually.
All right. Well, good. Thank you for cleaning up that lot. And
Yeah, thank
looking
you.
forward to that business down there.
You betcha.
Okay, so that worked out real well. We'll move on to regular items, come back to the other later. Item number 1, discussion of possible action on proposed Ruidoso Fire Department pay plan and step plan.
This is not an easy one.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. On this item, you just had the 3 different items that were up to date with the cost that you'd received in the previous meeting. In the last meeting, and I want to clarify this and go over any questions that you may have on the financials, you should have received in your packets on Friday an updated financial item. That updated financial item should have included the columns that specifically reference a question that council had asked us to come back with. What is our current percentage of ratio? And that's 69.1% of personnel to overall budget or to beginning budget. That's where we are at now, if nothing happens today. If these items move forward, if you choose to look at one of these, we can do them in real time so that you can see any impacts. It's my understanding that there may be options that you may want to look at that removes certain staffing. And if that's the case, we can give you live numbers so you can see the percentage change due to the current impacts. You also requested that we provide a 5% reduction in overall budget. That is also on the financial statement. If you don't have
In
that.
revenue for the budget.
Yes, sir, in revenue for the budget, which would show if there was an impact, if something, if the economy took a turn next year, what that would look like. And so we do have that as well. We can go over any of those numbers. Again, also you have your 3 options, the high, medium, and low options. All of those did include pay bands that had growth all the way up to the battalion chief position. And all of them were spaced out accurately for growth. We can reduce those also. As I mentioned, it's my understanding there may be some discussion or some questions as to if positions stay or if they're removed. But just as a total reminder, the option 1 was starting at $1,550. The overall impact for fire was $786,474. Option 2 was starting at $16. The overall impact was $828,000, and option 3 was starting at $17, with the overall impact being $926,904. And with that, we can have any discussions on any questions or changes or any of the financial impacts.
And those impacts do not include the increase of now having to pay for the additional positions at the airport.
That is correct.
This is just strictly fire department.
Strictly for, yes, fire, strictly for fire.
Just for fire, and it does not, the 2% that we give on the the performance and the longevity and all that, that still will be added in on this too. Yes, sir.
So I'm going to ask Mayor, if I may.
Absolutely.
Okay, so when I'll repeat or replay back when we decided to, the council decided to make an airport another fire station. That's what added, I think, 3 of these firefighters out there.
I believe so, Counselor Salas. Don't remember all the details on that.
Yeah, I was trying to, because some of them were ARF certified,
Yes.
some of the workers out there, so then they were gonna be upgraded to, firefighters, and that was gonna be a station that was gonna help the county on their ISO or what, the rating and stuff like that. So what I'm trying to swallow here on a big pill, on those dollars, is that I see it as we're practically eliminating a fire station and bringing some of the employees here.
So we're bringing the 6 positions that were in the fire department into the village, adding, so we'd have 9 people per day here. So the fire department out at the airport, that was basically, the way I look at it, is a stale department. I mean, we'd respond
Right.
occasionally to the county, but most of the time we didn't respond anywhere. We just stayed out there.
Okay, so that clarifies where I'm going with this. Because what I'm looking at is the org chart. I'm gonna go back up to the org chart that you're proposing. This was from the 2023 strategic plan. And looking at, if we were to eliminate all the firefighters out there, we would go back to what we had prior to having the firefighters out there, is what I'm predicting or what I recall. In other words, all our staff, our shifts and fire stations were staffed with the exception of a battalion chief.
Correct.
Would that be right? Okay. So, and I know strategic plans, those are living documents. Everything could change. I mean, I understand that. But the biggest concern I have is the increase of funds that it's going to take to not only fund this plan, which I'm in favor of for option 1, but then the new positions to cover the airport. So that's where it's a sticky point. Because come budget time, it won't happen this year, I'm going to propose that to help offset general fund money, that we cut our longevity pay in half. Now take it back. I was an employee. I know how important that 3rd check is. It's just something that we got as a council have to look at. What about this shortfall? 5% reduction. We don't know. We can't predict the future. So we're just hoping that we all do our part to keep the tourists coming and make sure that the gross receipts keep increasing. That's our only, magic number to say, hey, we need more money. Nothing against firefighters. I was a firefighter in the United States Navy. I know the work that you guys put into it and all the training that's required. However, when it comes down to the checkbook, man, we got to really watch this.
Mayor Pro Tem Salas, one thing that Councilmember Hooker provided in our last discussions, and I think he kind of hit the nail on the head, was we don't know exactly what's going to happen. This is all kind of estimated out. One of the things that we at least been talking about from an impact perspective is we still don't know operationally what we're going to have from a field perspective, from a hire perspective. In a perfect world, the reduction of overtime should work. We don't know what that's going to look like yet. I'm almost of the position that maybe you take a look before you look at any of these options in Delane and see what the actions are from moving personnel out into operations and then seeing what the airport does. That may give council, and again, I'm not recommending that, I'm just saying as an option, that at least gives council an idea of what this new staffing model will do for fire and what this new staffing model will do for the airport. And you'll be able to see actual impacts as they happen. Whether overtime is reduced, whether you actually do have time in the field for people, things of that nature. And so that may be a consideration that you look at as well, because the first thing that I heard was, we want to make sure we're recouping costs, and I agree, I think we need to do that. But we also don't, there's so many moving pieces that we also don't know what may happen. All of this is hypothetical, assuming best case scenario. And so just as a comment or an aside.
So another cut, Mayor, thank you. Thank you very much. Another cut that I'll probably propose at budget time is, by state, we're required to have 1/12% on there. And way back then, because I learned this decades ago, that we should have 2%. Get us 2/12. So, 2/12. So at least we have 2 months of operation. I'll be proposing to go back to just what the state requires, just having the 1/12.
Well, it is 2/12 now, isn't it, Judy?
Yes.
It's
Yeah,
gone back
it's
to state
2/12.
statute to 2/12.
Oh,
And
the
we're
state has?
in the state at 2/12 now?
No,
Oh,
the state is 1/12.
1/12.
1/12, yes.
Yeah, I remember all that, but I thought I was at the legislative hearing, maybe it didn't pass, where they were trying to talk to the cities municipalities that you had to have 2/12, but it's still 1/12. And aren't we actually doing about 3/12?
We're doing more than 2/12.
Yes, we're doing almost,
I wanted that 3/12 way back then.
but I hear what you're saying, going back to 1/12.
And I'm just trying to look for the dollars to equal.
Well, and it's
on-
gonna be higher deductibles on our insurance benefits next year.
Yes, it is.
It's gonna be looking at
It's gonna
different
be a lot.
benefit packages, because nobody cares about benefits when you already got them all. It's all about the cash, so I get paid hourly. And then when you don't have benefits, it's about the benefits. And so we deal with this all the time, back and forth. And then don't forget that at one time, the airport had a special part of the GRT that went out there to the airport. And one time we had, how many employees out there?
Mayor Crawford, remember,
11.
we had at least 12 to 13 employees out there.
Yeah. And then once we changed that, and that was during a period when some of us got on the council all those years ago, that we were broke. And so we didn't do RIFs. We just, when people by attrition, retirement, whatever, we just did not replace anybody. We didn't buy any new vehicles, and we did that for years, watching our pennies and being better operators at what we did. And now then we're enjoying all the fruits of those labors, which gives us all the ability to do the side things that we do called quality of life issues while maintaining water, sewer protection and all that stuff. So that's where we're gonna go. But it came to us that we weren't gonna have enough firemen. They just weren't gonna come to work. They had side jobs. They weren't gonna be able to cover us for, was it Memorial Day or Labor Day? Labor Day weekend. And then when we got a phone call from the governor for the feds to go to, where was it? Oregon, we had people jump all over, I'm ready to do it. So it comes down to, we got discipline issues, in my opinion, everybody got side businesses, side jobs. The people that work for us need to be first and foremost working for the village. And when you call, they haul, or they get written up. They get written up twice. Third time we come see Cheryl and we look at disciplinary action, because that's what we got. We got held up. We're not going to have any firemen. They're all leaving to go into here, there. They're going to move to White Sands. They're going to move to Carlsbad. Where else were they moving, Ron? Artesia.
Yes.
Everybody's quitting and getting the hell out of Dodge because the council's too tight to just give them another pay raise after we worked on this. What was it, 2 years ago?
Something like that.
Yes, sir.
And that's what started, is we did the fire department, and then all of a sudden it was the police department.
And then it's,
And that's my concern is, like I said before, we start with this, and then who's next? I mean, we keep hearing about dispatchers. We're short on dispatchers. We need to pay them more. police officers, and then it comes down to our line employees that are out in the trenches with the water and everything. And also the fact that we are now 3 months into our 4th month into the new budget year. And had this come to us at budget time, maybe we would have made some different decisions for budget, where we could have done this.
I mean, they were trying to get meetings going.
Right, but it didn't happen, so now we're into the budget, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh, now we need to do this, and how are we gonna pay for it? And my biggest concern, like I know you've said before, is sustainability. You know, what's gonna happen next year, the year after that, you know, so we can't just go, well, you know, I'll be off the council here soon, sure, go for it, you know, and then leave everybody that's here stuck having to pay for it.
Well, that's what I've talked to other communities that did it and asked them, you know, how did they come up, what they changed in their budgeting, you know? And they didn't change anything. They said, we just have to do it for now, and this is my last term. And that's what 2 of them from different communities told me. That's not much of a plan.
Yeah.
It's just hard making $13 an hour.
$13.50, I understand, but you got people coming right off the street, and if they get hired, they move on, and I understand it. Because as a private business, you own them forever. They're yours. They're your children once you hire them, as long as they don't quit or do something unmentionable to get fired. In a private sector, you hire people, and you pay them what you got to pay them, and then when business runs down, you lay people off.
But remember
You don't do
also,
that in public.
the way firefighters get paid is not $13 an hour. Yes, it's
Yeah.
$13 an hour, but like even at the $15.50, it equates to a salary of $46,000 a year. That's not a normal person working $15.50. You know, they put in their time, and I don't fault them for having second jobs. That's been that way for decades.
No, I don't care about the
Firefighters
second
always
job,
have
it's the
second jobs.
priority issues I
But
have.
when you're scheduled, you know in advance what your schedule is, you need to be there when you're scheduled.
And so hence, it's hard to get second jobs because you have to work around that your primary job is a firefighter. So.
We did some research. We had firemen that were actually working 12 days a month. You got plenty of time to work on a part-time job.
They do tree trimming, they do construction, they do.
I mean, I had some over at my house not too long ago, you know, that they do it. So, but that's where they're at. That's what they chose to do. And so I don't know how you straighten that out. Because it's all over the country that way. We talk to them, firemen all over the country, and that's the way it's done everywhere.
And I don't say they don't deserve more. I don't, they put their lives on the line. I would never do it. You know, yeah, you want to be there for the glory days, you know, riding on the fire truck down through the parades and stuff like that. But when the stuff hits the fan, I don't want to be there. I don't want to be that person going into a burning building, not knowing what's happening.
Plus, is the first ones to respond to any kind of emergency.
Oh, yeah, and the mental toll from the accidents and things like that. I mean, I'm not saying they're not worth anything, but.
Nobody's saying that.
Nobody's saying that. I mean, they're definitely, I would love to be able to do it. I'm just looking at it strictly from a fiscal standpoint.
Okay, so we have 6 firemen coming back. Okay, so we've had people moving to it's not necessarily that we're hiring more people. We are moving people around. Now, we'll have to hire for Parks and Rec. But, I mean, is it going to be that much of an impact?
Mr. Mayor, I had a few thoughts after the workshop, and I'd like to share them at this time.
Okay.
The issue at hand is not just about the pay plan for the Ruidoso Fire Department. It's about a proposed change of pay for one department that may affect all others. In my short 6 years here and 10 years in medical management, any fiduciary action before me should answer 2 questions borrowed from my previous association with Rotary as a Harris Fellow. To paraphrase 2 of those, will it be beneficial for all concerned, and is it fair to all concerned? Clearly, this does not meet the bar of scrutiny. If in the future we have a crisis of departmental managerial faith, I strongly recommend an examination of the most recent Labor Day events and the threatened loss of coverage. Recommendation would be an interdepartmental evaluation and SWOT analysis of all the events that led up to Labor Day. Not only did the events leading up to this incident, but upon analysis of the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, discovered a plan for corrective action to avoid another crisis of coverage on any holiday weekend or any weekday of coverage. This is offered in a spirit of survival of the corporate body and safety and well-being of every resident today, tomorrow, and in the future. I reaffirm the oath as an elected official that I took and took most seriously. This is offered as my sole personal opinion and respectfully submitted.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to ask, Michael, I kind of like the idea of what you said is just going ahead and moving the personnel from the airport to the fire department, and just see what it works out to be underneath this proposal. But what was missing there is that you don't have the 3 battalion chiefs right now. So would we get a clear picture of what would actually happen in the future underneath this plan? Let's say not this plan, but under the new personnel redistribution, and get a good look at the overtime and so on and everything without the battalion chiefs? Or
Let me speak high level to the data, and then the chief can speak to the operations and what that looks like. As far as collecting the actual data, we can see what that impact looks like. Just as a reference, for on an hourly basis, so they would still be working their 2912. So the average employee works 2080. Our regular team, they're working 2912 throughout the year. We would be able to track that and see how it applies, whether that overtime that's mandated gets reduced a little bit because of the people that are there, and see how that works. Now, the battalion chief side is more of an operational side. It is an additional cost. Chief, you can.
So on the battalion chief, it was just it was a thought that we would go with that so we could improve our ISO rating and our succession planning. So through the ISO, having an officer at each station increases our ISO ratings. It's not a whole lot, but it will give us extra points on our ISO rating to help us stay at the level 2 that we're at. And then in the way of operations, I mean, we can if we don't have it, it won't be a detriment to the department. We can keep with a captain and lieutenant, and we'll put a senior firefighter at Station 3. It won't be an officer, but we can still have that succession planning just without that additional step.
Okay, because without the battalion chiefs, what is the difference going to be? A couple $100,000 a year of that nature, or maybe a little bit more?
I think it's a little less than that, if I remember right, but I could be wrong. I've looked at so many.
With your para, this and the other stuff.
Yeah, the para, and see, that's what people forget, is we're not talking about $1,350, $1,550, $1,650. We're talking about a 30% labor burden with insurance and benefits, and then you're talking about 23%, 23.6% for para, 26.3 for para. So, you got a whole nother 50, 60% on top of that dollar per hour that we have to maintain forever. And that's one of the things that we're looking at, and then hopefully we grow on that. But what's going on with inflation and everything, I understand people need to make more money, for sure. And the ISO rating is not to be underrated. It means hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a year to our homeowners and property owners on insurance. And our ISO is a 2, and we worked hard way back when, I can't remember what that guy's name was the fire chief way back before Harlan. What was his name? Anyway, we don't need to even mention anymore, but we worked through that, and we have a good ISO rating. And so we do want to maintain that and look for all the points. So it's a complicated, procedure that we're looking at, I understand, to add up to see what's the probability of it being affordable or attainable.
Yes, sir. And Mayor and Council, Councilmember Eby, just as a clarification, we still maintain the same number of positions. It's just the reclassification of the positions. So it's either those 3 officers and 3 less firefighters, or 3 more firefighters and 3 less officers. And so the offset of the actual cost was roughly about $5,000 increase on the top side. So yes, it's less than a couple $100,000. It's closer to maybe 100 with benefits and everything else total. I'd have to give you an exact number, but the offset is either 3 officers, 3 less firefighters, or 3 more firefighters, 3 less officers. but the position count is still the same.
Because, you know, this is a big decision to make, you know, whether there is any amount of increase. But I'd be in favor of putting it on the back burner, seeing what happens, and also get some more numbers on the possibility of the, you were talking about income coming in, you know, what is feasible, what is, say, some really good projection. And
Well, they can go back and do that. I thought y'all had already put some numbers to that.
well, they were talking about looking at what they might be able to charge as far as revenue.
Well, they can do that now. You can go back and look at all the calls, what the calls were for, and you can put the numbers to it and give you an idea of where that's at. That's easily done.
So, yes, Mayor, and I think what Councilmember Eby was making a reference to is we said, without really a cost of what we charge per service, we can draw you up a short range of what we think would happen versus a long range. It just depends on what those service costs would actually look like. And so until we actually get a more accurate number of what that would be, then we can give you an accurate revenue count. But we
Because
can give you,
you have the historical data that you can build those models and have this to us, but all of this plays into what you guys are thinking now, because you know, we just had that extension on our rate study. That one's coming too.
Yep.
On what we're gonna be charging for water, trash pickup, sewer, all of those things tie into this. And even as successful as we've been very open and pushing to be competitive with other communities to hire people. And we know it costs a lot to live here. That's why we're working so hard on workforce housing. And, you know, and we still have trouble getting traction from our own community sometimes.
Yep.
You know, they don't show up to the meetings, and then we find a location and not here, you know, but, you know, we're trying to find a more affordable, so it all plays into it. But like Joe said, if you can put the information you're talking about, just like with we have a fire marshal now, and charging for his services, when maybe the first time free or whatever, discount, but going back out over and over.
and that's, Mayor, what we were making reference to. We don't actually know what inspections would look like. We don't have an idea of those inspections because we never had that data before. That was the State Fire Marshal's office. We could put some projections together, but they wouldn't be 100% accurate.
No, but you could do an educated guess.
Yes, based on the previous fire marshal's inspections and what we think we're doing and all those call-outs, yes, we can. We would estimate a range of costs for inspections. We'd also retool what we look at for plan review. Those are things that we're looking at as well. So we can do all of that and give you a good estimate. We're actually calculating some of those numbers now, but it would be a rough estimate.
Okay. And I mean, and everybody knows, the last question, and it's really odd, today at lunch, before I came, a gentleman was talking to me about how the county's on his backside because of the Chance Fire, because he called out a bunch of resources to get that fire put out. Nobody lost their home. And when the fire's coming, or when you're gasping for air and you're having a heart attack, and you're not asking about, can we afford $1,550, $1,750? You're asking, you need them now. And so that's another aspect of these things. But at what point, you know, who's more important than another? And that's why I was trying to, so awkwardly last meeting was that everybody's important, every department. If you don't have water, you don't have sewer, you don't have the whole community has to work together. And so that's what you guys have to figure out. I say you guys because I'm pawning it off on, I'm not either. But I'm just telling you, it's not easy. And this council's been working on this ever since it was brought up Labor Day. On numbers, we've been working with the financial department, trying to figure it out, and the HR department, so. Anybody else have any comments or questions?
What about do you have any prospects for, you've got 2 positions open?
We've actually got 4 positions open now, Councilor Letterman, because we
Because
the 2 went out to the airport, so we're at 4 vacancies. We've been advertising for about 2 months at this point in time, and we have 3 candidates right now that we set up to test on November the 1st at this point in time. Whether they'll make it through the testing is another thing, but we do have 3 applicants that have made it to the testing portion of it at this point in time.
And then that's when your housing issue comes up, affordability, all that.
Yeah.
I would just like to look at things on an overall basis rather than department by department. Whichever department comes and requests things first, look at the overall Ruidoso employee base and how can we fairly hit everybody?
Well, and we've done it one department at a time.
And that's the problem, is then the first one comes in, and then, okay, yes, we do that, and the second one comes in, the third one comes in, and pretty soon it's like, oh, wow, this is really adding up here. Instead of looking at, it's kind of like going and buying a car, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, you want tires? Okay, we're gonna add this to it, and then we're gonna add this to it, and we're gonna add this to it. Just, what is the price? What is the price to take care of all of our employees equally, fairly, across the board? Because then it comes down to, I'm surprised we haven't had Josh in here going, I need a lot more
Well,
money.
and
for
we've
people."
worked on all that. We just
We
redid that
just
during the
redid
budget.
it, yeah.
Exactly,
just
right.
not too long
All
ago.
of them, what you're saying, we just did.
But
But it wasn't enough in the fire
we
department.
did the fire department, and then we did the police department, and then we did everybody else. We didn't do everybody at once. Because now it's been a couple of years, and now it comes back that, everybody's having difficulty hiring. And somebody wanting to move to Artesia, man, you better make a lot more money in Artesia, because housing's
Well, and that's
expensive
the
there.
point. They said they were getting more money there, and you have a bigger base.
Yep.
When I was talking to a couple of mayors this week from little bitty towns, that, they have oil and gas there, so that they're pretty financially sound, but they can't, who wants to go to Jowl? Nothing against Jowl.
Oh, I know.
So you can always find a place to move for money, but then it comes down to the same problem that every other business, every other employee in this community that has not been here for a while and does not already own a house, is same problems. I cannot tell you how many of my employees can't live here. They live in Tularosa, they live in the valley, they drive in every day. And they don't have any benefits, except for what they get paid and what we bonus them. And then it's living ability. Where am I gonna live? And then I get stories like I was paying $1,200 a month. My contract's up, now it's going to $2,400 a month for the same house.
Yep.
And so that's the reality, but, I guess it's up to us to figure out the solutions to all those things. Meanwhile, keep voting for the people in Washington.
And then insurance is going up.
Insurance already, yeah,
Gone up.
Well,
Mine's over
actually,
45% increase.
really what happened was it wasn't even about raises, like a whole department raises. It was, someone was worried about the ISO rating because we needed 2 more firefighters. And then it was just brought up that $13 an hour, we train, and then we're training people, and then they leave for somewhere else because they can, somebody else will let Ruidoso train, and then we'll hire them out from under Ruidoso.
Well,
I mean, it was really a simple,
Sure.
just worried about our ISO because we needed 2 more firefighters, and then everything kind of blew up from there.
And then
but-
it came out to put the airport underneath the fire department because that's less cost, less duplication of services. It's gonna be more efficient in the long run, because then some of those positions could be paid with firefighter funds and just a whole big thing, and then it doesn't pan out. So sometimes.
and that was not our idea. I
No,
mean,
no,
that
no,
was
no.
brought to us.
That was brought to us,
And
that's
we-
in the past.
The only thing is we didn't sit down with the whole department and ask if people wanted to
Right.
work at the airport.
Right, we took the information that was provided to us and we made decisions based on that. But
It was a good sales pitch. Mayor, I move to approve the proposed fire plan, pay plan, option number 1, and keeping the existing organizational chart.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any final discussion?
So to be clear, that means eliminating the battalion chief positions?
Yes, just staying with the original,
The original,
org chart.
okay.
Could I get a quick, because you said you could do this on the fly, exactly what that would be as far as the impact without the battalion chiefs?
On the 5%.
So
The
you're just
percentage.
adding, so are we just adding the 6 from the airport to the fire?
$15.50 an hour
Oh.
to your people. That's what he wants to know. Forget about the airport.
786?
Yes.
And Cheryl, also on the pay for performance, where it was 4% for fire, went down to 1% also on that, so.
So does that mean this proposed org chart, if we just go in and erase the battalion chiefs, that's what it is?
I think so.
Okay.
It was pretty close.
Okay, because I know there was mention, Michael said about, well, it's
Yeah,
a
that's
what
total of
he's
6,
looking at,
whatever,
but
and
he's
up and
got
down.
this.
You got that one.
This one's from when we did
Right.
the,
So if we just
budget.
scratch out battalion chiefs
Increase plus.
and all the other positions.
That one's off the strategic plan.
That's the captains, lieutenants, and then the
And then the firefighters as detailed on here.
Yes.
And it,
Because payroll alone at the base would be about $200,000. And I know it's not the base that they're gonna be earning, but then you have all the other stuff on top of it.
Right.
So that would increase, personnel original budget to 13.9, and that would be 71% of the total budget would be personnel.
But I mean, what was the total financial impact as far as if, or you might have said that, but the total financial impact as far as this department?
Oh, removing the budget, I'm sorry, removing the battalion chiefs?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I thought you were looking for the percentage of overall
Yeah,
impact.
that's what,
No,
Yeah,
because
take the
that
battalion
was a
chiefs
motion.
off.
That was a motion.
Dollar
Motion said, so it's minus the battalion chiefs and,
but at the 15.
and I'm sorry, Judy, what percentage did you say that was?
71.
I thought at the workshop you said like 50-something.
And that's we were having that discussion, so you know when you're going to a zero-based budget, you're budgeting your reoccurring revenues. Well, that 56 was when we added all the cash reserve, and we probably can't take that
Yeah,
figure.
okay, okay.
Because when you add more to the budget, of course, the personnel
Right.
goes down. So you have to be budgeting what your recurring revenues are.
Right.
If you look at that sheet, when you're looking at that sheet going year to year, you can see the original budget is always lower than what the ending budget is. It's because we add in the cash. So as you can see, when you start on this worksheet in, what fiscal year is it, 20? You can see how our ending cash balance in the general fund has grown from 6 million all the way to 8 million just over those few years.
Over those years,
And
right.
the reason it's growing is because we budget all our vacancies and we budget expenditures high, but if you
Right,
look at
so it
actuals,
just carries over
we
without
never
it
need
being,
it. So that cash balance is from the savings of those expenditure savings, plus we budget our revenues low. So, that budget balance has been growing. However, when you start adding more expenses to that original budget, our cash reserve and the money that you can do one-time things like buy property,
Right.
do a project is gonna go down. And as you can see on that last column, the original budget had, our estimated ending cash was at the 3.5. But when you look at, and it's the number in green,
yes,
so you see at the original budget, our cash reserve estimated was gonna be 3.5, but when you look at the cash reserve, when we added in the current budget, it went down to 1.3.
1.3.
And that's because there was expenditures from the last fiscal year that weren't paid, and now we're paying them this year. So now, the amount of money that you can do to do those one-time expense, buy property, do a project, buy vehicles, buy equipment goes down. So as we put this money, that figure is gonna go down again. Unless we rebudget some of our revenues, but I don't wanna budget some of our
No, we gotta-
to increase the budget, because then what happens if in December we take a tank
yep,
and we've increased 5%, now we're down 10, then I'm gonna have to start cutting expenditures, we're gonna have to freeze vacancies and stuff like that.
right. Okay, thank you.
Okay, sorry about that. We're back. So if you take the overall, original total, the 786, or I'm sorry, yes, the 786, 474, 85, the increase that happens from captain to battalion chief is 6,192.77. So if you take that number from the bottom, it's roughly about it's about a $6,000 impact. So your total impact to the general fund is still 780,474. It's a reduction of just the 6,192.
Now, one of the questions is, the cost of living and also the 1% longevity, when does that kick in? Does that, kick in on the new fiscal year?
So, as Mayor, Counselor, when they have an anniversary coming up, they will hit their 1% service credit. So some of those aren't necessarily accounted for here. They are on the step plan.
So each one has a different, as far as longevity, that's their anniversary that they were hired.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then the 1%, cost of living increase, when does that kick in on the new budget year or the end of this year?
Counselor Eby, Mayor, so, employees get a 1% increase on their anniversary date. So depending on when you were hired, at each hire date, whether you're in July, June, whenever, when you hit that point, you're gonna get 1%. Now, the pay for performance at 1% is based on your goals. So if you finish your goal in July, then you're gonna get that 1% at 1. But if your goal is harder, you might not reach it till March, then that 1% will kick in at that time. However, we budget that the performance is gonna be at the front. It's probably not the best, but it's probably the most conservative, that everybody's gonna get it right off the bat. But it might not happen, or some people might not get their increase because the goal wasn't achieved.
Yeah.
And how often does that happen?
I would imagine few to far between, but there's
Yep.
some people that don't.
So it's about 2% is what it ends up being. So on top of this, that nobody talks about, that we've already done to try to enhance production and all those other things. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Would you restate the motion was to approve the fire pay plan?
Option one?
Option one, and eliminate the position of battalion chiefs.
Yes.
Now, Joe, do you have in place a contract that the firefighters are signing, especially your new ones that come on? Do you get them certified they have to stay so long before they move on?
We don't. We can come up with one really quick. I know I had one out at the airport when I was out there so when we brought them on, we had them sign a 2-year agreement because we had to put them through the ARF training and all this other training, and we can just mimic that and have everybody sign that as they come on.
We do it with the police department. Any training and.
Chief, how long is yours for, your agreement? 2 years? That seemed like a reasonable amount of time, because I would have to, to agree with something like this, they just can't get certified and then move on. Is that to make an amendment to that, to have the fire department contingent upon them drafting an agreement?
Okay, I'll accept that friendly amendment, but on the 2 years, is that from the hire date or from the date that they became certified?
Certified.
From certified? Okay, so I'll accept that friendly amendment if you
So I second it still.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, can we have a roll call, please, ma'am?
Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Counselor Hooker,
Aye.
Counselor Jackson,
No.
Counselor Coughlin,
No.
Counselor Letterman,
Aye.
Counselor Eby.
Aye.
Okay, that one passes.
Yes, it does.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. I know that was a ton of work.
Item number 2, discussion and possible action on recommendation from the Airport Advisory Board to adopt a fuel pricing formula for airport fuel sales that follow the market but still keeps the Village of Ruidoso competitive with other airports and allows the village to maintain revenues needed to operate the Sierra Blanca Regional Airport.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Sorry, got up thinking I was.
No, you weren't done then, were you?
The item in front of you, and I'll let Mr. Baker comment on some of these other items. The item in front of you was to bring back a formula that the Aviation Board had made recommendations to. It was to simplify coming up with a retail price, and the formula that was formulated comes out to basically your high and your low of your regional market price. You take the average of that and subtract 5%, then what that does is it gives you a competitive price across the board. However, there is a stipulation in there that we will never drop below our initial cost of what we purchased, so that we will never lose money, but still continue to remain competitive.
Does anybody have any questions?
Well, I'll say I appreciate putting the formula in writing. But
Yeah.
that stipulation is still not there in writing.
It should have been on the bottom.
It's not. That we will never drop below.
Never drop below
the
our
price that we
cost.
paid for fuel.
I apologize, I thought I had added it per our discussion before we left. So we would need to add that stipulation on the item. It'll be on there.
And then the language on the memo, it says, the very last part, allows the village to maintain revenues needed to operate the Sierra Blanca Regional Airport. We're still running in the red.
Yes, sir. This
So
is
that-
still just
It's
generating.
kind of misleading statement to me. Because that makes it sound like, oh, we can cut it and we're still operating the airport.
It should say to contribute to.
Right, because we need to figure out, that's supposed to be a,
There's not an airport.
there's not, but it's supposed to be.
Unless, you have and that's where we've looked at Santa Fe and others, that they're their FBO. I always get it backwards. Free on board, nope, FBO. And then they really charge for other services, but they are able to make money off of repair, service work. So we were able to get a grant for a ground power unit
Yes, sir.
and a lab service deal that we will, when we get those in, we'll start charging this. Now, this is only low lead. This isn't jet fuel.
Correct, right.
And so those guys are still paying what they're doing. So, yeah. And that's who we want to sell fuel to, is those big jets too, but offer the additional services.
And Mayor, Council, we want to continue to generate revenue at the airport, just like the mayor mentioned with those 2 units, and then provide additional services. We're hoping to get a mechanic up there also, but we need to generate revenue.
And we have a good lead on the mechanic. We just haven't got it finalized just yet. He's finishing out his contract. And he's a local guy.
And have they not come out from under the fire department yet?
Yeah, well,
Because that letterhead, that
says fire department.
Yeah, that's where I was gonna
Yeah.
suggest, put
Yeah,
an
we'll
airport
start.
letterhead there, Lee.
Yeah. Go back to your airport. Okay?
So would you be opposed at reviewing this in, say, a year?
No, we can do that.
We can we'll have a
Just
lot
to-
more data.
Yeah, just to see exactly how effective it was, or if it's not working. I don't know, this airport, the traffic that comes in, how much that will generate more people coming in just to fill up their planes, especially on the low lead stuff. I don't know how much of an issue that is.
With some of the stuff we're going to be bringing back to council for informational direction, as well as marketing components and some of the items that Parks and Rec are going to be working with the airport on, I think we'll see a significant increase. At least that's what we're projecting.
Projecting, okay. So Mayor, I'll go ahead and make the motion.
And then we want you to send him one email at a time, every day, overloading with those, if he's really that interested in seeing what it is in a year.
No, it's just, whenever we make a change, you always have to evaluate. You always constantly, good management is always constantly evaluation of your
We just want to
policies
keep you in
and
touch,
procedures.
is all I was saying.
Well, you know, I'll have nothing to do when I'm sitting on the beach.
Yeah,
so
that's
send
true.
it to
Yeah,
me.
you'll get tired of that real quick. So go ahead and make that motion.
I'll move to approve recommendation for the Airport Advisory Board to adopt a fuel pricing formula for airport fuel sales that follow the market, but still keeps the Village of Ruidoso competitive with other airports and allows the village to support revenues needed to operate the Sierra Blanca Regional Airport, and that we will not sell fuel for less than our actual cost.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please, ma'am.
Excuse me, Counselor Coughlin,
Aye.
Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Counselor Hooker,
Aye.
Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Counselor Letterman,
Aye.
Counselor Eby.
Aye.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Don't go anywhere. Discussion and possible action on aviation grant agreement SRR-24-01 with New Mexico Department of Transportation to purchase a lavatory cart and ground power unit for the Sierra Blanca Regional Airport in the amount of $51,525.
Okay, the airport was budgeted to purchase these, and when I went to, the airport manager's meeting a couple of months ago, I asked the state if they would help us out with it, and they come back and said that they would do a 90-10. So they did give us, or given us the grant.
Great
to be able to
job.
purchase.
All right.
Ma'am?
Great job.
So the 10%, is that the 51?
Yep. No, the 51's the 50, we owe 5725.
Oh, there it is up there. Okay, I'm sorry.
5,725, I'm sorry.
Gotcha. Yep.
So the state agreed to pay 90% of the cost of these. So as soon as we get the grant back and everything's in order, then I will be ordering these 2 units.
Mr. Mayor, move to approve aviation grant agreement SRR 2407 or 01 with New Mexico Department of Transportation to purchase a lavatory cart and ground power unit for the Sierra Blanca Regional Airport in the amount of $51,525.
Second.
Question,
Yes.
how does $5,725 equate to 10% of $51,525?
That was a good question. I was going to ask that later, but I'm glad you did now. On the payout sheet, it said sponsor 5725. State portion is 5125. 51,525.
And I don't have that email in front of me, so.
Well, I have the agreement here.
Yeah, the agreement says,
Are there other costs in there that they're not including in their portion of the grant?
Mayor Crawford, members of the council, Jane Lucero, State Aviation, she's the one that prepared the grant agreement. And I think, Mayor, you also signed off on it, right?
Yep.
The electronic, so we'll double check on that.
I mean, it's still a great deal. It saves us the 51,000,
Yep.
so
You're just wondering where they're done.
I'm just curious if there's something else in there. Taxes, delivery, but it's not.
10% would be 5,100 and change, so it's obvious. So we'll go ahead, what?
The amount, the 100% is both costs put together, so part of it is 91.
Yeah, we are paying 10%. We're just paying 10% of the 57,250.
Well, but when you add the 90 and the 10 together, the 51,525 and the 5,725, that does not equal the project cost of 57,250.
So, but our 10%?
Oh, it does. Never
Is,
mind.
yeah,
Sorry.
So
when you,
Ours is 10%.
Yes, sir.
But theirs is not 90%. So that's why it's like, wait, what's going on there?
and we'll double check what's in theirs, but ours is in fact the 10% of the overall
Okay.
cost.
maybe I'm just looking at it wrong. Maybe I'm looking and seeing the 51,000 and taking 10% off of that. That's, I think, what it is. When I look at that last sheet in your packet, that makes more sense. It's 57,250 is the cost of the cart.
It does, yes,
So
it does add up to
10% is
the
57.
90%.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, sir.
It's the two added together.
Two added together, so yeah,
That
it is.
equals 57,250, and our 10%'s off the
Off the 57.
aggregate
Yes.
number.
And so that is 10% and 90%.
Yeah, it's just been a long meeting already.
Well, that education's coming in handy, isn't it, over there, Michael?
At least I can double check.
I'm glad you got a phone with a calculator on it. Okay, so,
We had a,
motion,
yeah,
We have a second?
second.
and a second,
Yes.
and he had a question. Any other discussion? Roll call, please, ma'am.
Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Counselor Hooker,
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin,
Aye.
Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Counselor Letterman,
Aye.
and Counselor Eby.
Aye.
Awesome. Thank you, gentlemen. Item number 4, discussion and possible action on adoption of resolution 2023-34, municipal officer election on March 5th, 2024. So explain that to us, please, will you, ma'am?
Yes, Mayor and members of the council, this is the election resolution declaring the elections, the municipal officer election we will hold on March 5th, 2024. It identifies and details the elective offices of 3 counselors for a 4-year term to be elected at large, 1 counselor for a 2-year term to be elected at large, and 1 municipal judge for a 4-year term to be elected at large. I inserted the language from the election code. This portion was a change made early this year, that if 2 or more positions for the same office are to be elected to represent the same area, but with terms of different lengths of time, the candidate receiving the highest number of votes shall be elected to the positions with the longest term, and the candidate receiving the next highest of votes shall be elected to the next longest term. So therefore, the 3 votes that come in the highest will be for the 4-year terms. The vote that comes in for the least amount of votes will be for the 2-year term. The language that will be seen on the ballot is vote for no more than 4. This resolution also identifies the question that we will have on the ballot, which is the $3 million of general obligation bonds for the purpose of enlarging, improving, and/or extending the production and distribution components of the village's water system. It identifies the precincts and the dates where you will vote early and absentee, and where you will vote on the day of election. It identifies when absentee voting begins, the last day to mail absentee ballots, declaration day, and that's it. So that's what this resolution is for. And I will be posting this on our website along with a calendar of dates from the start of, with this, and then going through Election Day and through canvassing, if anyone has any questions.
Ginny, the one thing it doesn't say is what are the hours on the actual election day? Is it still 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.?
Oh, yes, thank you for pointing that out to me. Let me see here.
At least I didn't read the resolution itself, but in the memo it doesn't.
Right, let's see, absentee. You're correct, we will add it to the language. Thank you.
So Mayor, if I may make a comment, Jenny, when you were reading the top, the at-large and the top 3, the way I explained it to people is the top 3 with the highest votes will get the 4-year position, and then the 4th place person will get the 2-year position.
Yes.
That's
'Cause
correct, and
you-
you actually explained it a lot better than the way I read it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
because when you said the person with the least amount of votes, I'm like,
Right.
oh, man, I got to come in last place. There you go.
One vote.
Yeah, there you go.
Don't vote for
But-
me, don't
And
vote.
what I did is I'm always cautious about interpreting the language or the statute, so I just put per, and, per the part of the election code and copied it that way. But yes, that is exactly how it can be explained. And when I do start talking on Mondays with the mayor in the future, I'll have several days that I'll ask to do that. I will explain it that way.
Good, good. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-34 Municipal Officers Election on March 5th, 2024.
Second.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Hooker,
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin,
Aye.
Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Counselor Letterman,
Aye.
and Counselor Eby.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much. Item number 5, discussion and possible action on contract for monthly printing and delivery of the Village of Ruidoso Insider with Millet XL awarded via invitation to bid ITB in the amount of $71,280.42, including New Mexico GRT. And we approved the RFP earlier, and this is for the contract. Yes, sir, Eddie?
Thank you, Mayor and council members. This is for the contract to award, which you already approved on consent, and seeking approval on it.
And y'all know the whole story behind it, and she commented earlier that it was coming in on time,
Yeah,
so.
that's
Yes.
good.
I make a motion to approve contract for monthly printing and delivery of the Village of Ruidoso Insider with Millet XL awarded via invitation to bid in the amount of $71,280.42, including NMGRT.
Second.
Discussion?
I got a question. Can I still get this after I move? Put me on the mailing list?
I could.
Because I'll miss your face.
Yeah, you will.
Yeah.
You could get it online.
Yeah, you get it on the.
We don't mail it to Florida.
All right. Roll call.
Counselor Hooker,
Aye.
Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin,
Aye.
Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Counselor Letterman,
Aye.
and Counselor Eby.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 6, discussion and possible action on agreement with White Sands Construction, Inc. through statewide price agreement number 30-00000. Is that like OT 5? Is that what you'd
That's
say?
5-aught.
5-aught, okay, 5-aught. Man, I
Next
should
one's
have.
3-aught.
Okay. 23, 3-7-aught on the Horton Complex Building Renovations Project located at 237 Service Road for base bid Phase 1A additive alternatives number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4 in the amount of $1,322,906.68, including New Mexico GRT. Yes, sir, Chief.
Mr. Mayor, Council, this is the Phase 1A project of the Horton project. We got the bids in from White Sands Construction. The scope of work will be the front parking lot, the entryway, the forest offices, and then the tongue and groove along the porch. Some of the additive was for the stucco, the patchwork, and then replacing some of the windows, and then a security fence in the back of dispatch.
Anybody have any questions?
Do we have the money?
Yes.
Yes.
We still have,
Yes, it's coming out of the capital outlay that was allocated to us last year through legislature from the Department of Public Safety.
So in additive number 3, additive alternative number 3, it talks about replace broken glass on north stairwell of BNGC. Okay. So that's that, like 3-story glass windows that are in the back, kind of facing the
field.
football field?
Yeah.
That, bringing that up, and then some of the windows along the east and west of north and south of the Horton complex.
Okay.
And Mayor Crawford, Counselor Coughlin, that's also on some of the light fixtures also, when in the back also, there's some lights. They would have to remove them and replace with new ones as they did the stucco, after the stuccoing.
Okay, on the back of the building or on the front of the building?
It'd be on either
the
side.
sides, on the sides.
Yes, on that one there, that particular additive alternate would be in the backside,
Okay,
going around the gymnasium area.
because I was gonna say, the ones on the side, kind of by the kitchen and everything, those were replaced, when Rodney had somebody come do an LED upgrade at one point, but they've never worked. So I don't know if it's just a power issue not coming there. But we'd spoken earlier, and I said there was something that I remembered, that glass, if it's possible to just board it up, I mean, in a nice fashion, because that part of the building is not used at all, to go putting glass back up in there. If it could just be something that looks nice from the exterior and just close off some of those windows, because that portion of the building has no heat, no water. That was all damaged during the freeze back in 2011. So it's never, unless we invest a ton of money to go in there and try and repair that stuff, it's never gonna be really used. It's all just storage space. And the windows are not necessary to it, if that would save us some money.
Okay.
We can get with Catlin on that, and maybe he can come up with a solution to save that money.
Yeah.
Are you gonna make the?
I do have one question, and you can probably clarify it here, but it's just on your, the cost for your superintendent, journeyman, and labor. Like say, for example, in alternative 3, where you've got superintendent, $60 times 100, 160 hours work, 16,000 and so on, but then you have, the, journeyman experience, you have, $60 times 160, so they're all working the same amount of hours. You get in charge that, and then you have labor, you have one labor at 160 at $40 an hour. So are we only getting one labor and one journeyman and one superintendent
And that would,
full time?
sorry for cutting you off, Counselor. That would depend on the project itself. If they need more journeymen there, or they need other employees there, they can call up to get more carpenters or whatever they need on that particular job site. Why it's that way on that particular one, I don't know. That was just the way that they turned the bid in.
It's the total number of hours for each of that
Position.
qualified position, yeah. Chief, do you have any idea that if this is approved, how quickly they can get working on Phase 1A to get that parking lot?
They can get everything done. The parking lot, they will not lay asphalt until the springtime. They've already made that known.
So will the parking lot be usable without the asphalt?
I mean, your guess, you know how Ruidoso weather is. It'll be good until it snows, and then they'll have to regrade it and everything once they get ready for it, for asphalt.
Because I know how that affects you guys.
Yes.
But are we moving forward with the temporary in the back parking area?
Yes, we are. In fact, they graded it last week, and then Adam went and he had his crew go put millings down in the back, so that way it made a spot there.
They're still parking out front, though.
Oh, well, they should be parking in the back.
Can you add millings to this, or will it mess up the prep for next year? Like on the front of it, if it's, so instead of it being all muddy or cleachy or whatever, they could add millings and.
Yeah, there's a spot in the back that Adam went and took a look at, and we were talking about adding millings to that, because then it would allow for up to 5 temporary parking spaces there in the back.
Because we still have a lot of millings in town and out at the airport. I saw some people poaching some of that the other day. Yeah, those big piles out there from the airport are ours, right? They were just backing their truck up there and loading them up. I was on vacation, so I just drove them by. But
Positions, 9/10 of the law.
Yep. So we got a lot of them. We might as well use them. So if it would help the situation. Anybody else have any comments, or can I get a motion?
I will go ahead and make a motion. I move to approve agreement with White Sands Construction, Inc. through statewide pricing agreement 30-5-23-3-70. I hope I did that right. On the Horton Complex Building renovations project located at 237 Service Road for base bid Phase 1A additive alternates number 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the amount of $1,322,906.68, including New Mexico GRT with the addition to explore whether some of those back windows could just be covered up in a nice fashion rather than replacing them.
Second.
No discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Coughlin,
Aye.
Counselor Hooker,
Aye.
Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Counselor Letterman,
Aye.
and Counselor Eby.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks.
thanks, Chief. Item number 7, discussion and possible action on change order number 1 with Haas Contracting Company, Inc. for Grindstone Canyon Dam Principal Spillway and North Dam Crest Concrete Repairs. ITB number 2023-017B, requesting an extension of 7 days to January the 18th and increasing the contract amount by $239,558.50, including gross receipts tax. Yes, sir. Do you have help on the line?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Mayor and council members. Randy Kane, Water Production Manager. I have Gresh Eckridge on the line to answer any questions and support. This is change order for $239,528.50. This was identified when they started removing the concrete on the principal spillway in the North Dam Crest. The concrete conditions were more deteriorated than expected, and estimated quantities for concrete removal and repair were increased and higher than estimated. So what Ye and Associates and Chuck Hutton did is they put together line item quantities based on the assessment that they did in October 2022. The estimated quantities were based on preliminary visual condition assessments. And they used hammer sounding on the surface of the existing concrete to kind of identify drummy concrete. And hammer sounding is a simple, low-cost procedure that is effective for initial surveys, but it can only detect significant shallow deteriorations of the concrete. And the depth is kind of hard to identify. You really don't know until you actually start taking it off. This is kind of like a retrofit also. You know, instead of building a brand new dam, you know, once you start taking the stuff off, you identify more problems, and then larger areas were identified. And the Seeker product that we're using, the stuff is not cheap, but it's really good. So, you know, I know it's kind of costly, but there are a couple other things that I can add to it. We did put a 15% contingency, because when they start taking S11, that's the bottom portion of the spillway. When they start taking that off, that's a critical part of the project. We don't know what we're gonna find. We're gonna have a lot of eyes on it when they start on it. It might be tomorrow, you know, depending on the outcome and everything. But we're gonna look at it, and we're gonna go real slow to make sure everything goes well. And, you know, the 15% is just a built-in cost. Doesn't mean we're gonna use it, but we wanted to have it as a contingency so we didn't have to come back. And that is the last part of the concrete removal. So everything else has been removed and ready to go. And of course, you know, HASI, their successful bid was based on estimated quantities, you know, on the concrete to be removed and repaired. So I know when the engineers looked at it, it's, you know, it's kind of hard to figure out the exact quantities that you need to do. So part of it is when we got into it, there's some of the areas that are pretty bad, you know. When they go in on the worst part of it, it's going to be 3 lifts or 3 layers. So they're gonna be working on that. And then the better portion is only gonna be 2 layers of Sika, so. It's a big project and a lot of moving parts. So they broke it down and it shows the exact amount, like S1 through S10 on the spillway. Removal of 26 cubic feet. And, so, I mean, all the prices are broken down. And the other thing is, if they have, everything's metered, so when they run the Sika product, they'll know the exact amount. And if they're only gonna charge us for the amount that's used. And, if they don't use it all, then it'll come back to the village, so.
Okay, and all these repair, it's also to keep us in compliance with the Dam Safety Bureau?
Exactly. This is all driven from OSC Dam Safety Bureau. And, of course, James Head.
Yep.
This will satisfy a lot of the issues. And the other thing is we were trying to look at ways to cut costs and, and kind of make it balance. We did a lot of thinking on this, and this is kind of the best approach. We don't want to have a project that's half-assed or, half.
We can't say that here.
We want a good product. And, our goal was to, on the deck or the north crest is to have it all nice and uniform. And then the other thing on the crest, or on the spillway, when they were up there, they started removing some of the concrete, and they determined that it's a larger area that had to be removed. So that's part of the increase in the
spillway?
cost. Yeah.
Okay.
You can see some of them are, I think there's one that's like 74 feet long, so.
Wow.
And when they did the assessment, they were up there with the hammer and trying to get the best estimate, but it does change when you get into it.
And D2 curb is in good shape? That's why it doesn't have to be removed?
Well, what we're doing is, we looked at that to help offset some of the costs. We are gonna remove it, and we're looking at options, maybe doing it in-house. It's in bad shape, and it'll come off fairly easy.
Okay.
And we're not gonna go back in with it, because in that part of the dam, it doesn't really need it. And the new dams are being built without curbs.
Okay.
So we did a lot of talking on that also, and that will help offset some of the cost, so.
So Randy,
Go.
looking at the photos of where they're cutting on the spillway.
Yeah.
How deep of a cut are they doing?
Well, it depends. Some of them are an inch, some an inch and a half.
Right.
Some are, I think the deepest is 2 inches. When they did in the specs, it said 1 to 3 inches, so.
That's what I thought I read in
Yeah.
there, because, even 2 inches is shaky for me.
Yeah.
Just notify T-Bone when they're cutting, so they could clear out his office or at least move their vehicles and
Hey,
park on Higher Hill.
I'm right below it, so.
Yeah, you'll know, you'll be up on the dam, so.
No, that's why
No, but I didn't know, and I only saw 2 on the picture, 2 areas. Is that the areas that they'll be cutting?
No, it's all over the face of the principal spillway. Some are at the top, some are at the middle,
Okay,
some are at the
I'm starting to
bottom.
see some more. I'll just go out there and look.
Yeah, if anybody would like to, take a look at it, they've made a lot of headway, and all the concrete's pretty much removed, and that's a big part of it too, is they're using a robot that removes it. I think it was 3/8 to 1/2 inch is what they were trying to take off, but the other thing is when they started closer to the pump house, that's a real bad area. It's pretty terrible. And then a lot of exposed rebar is on the surface also. And then the other thing we're doing is Chuck Hutton is coming in tomorrow, and he's going to go in and get up on the lift or on the crane in the man basket, and he's going to quantify or check some of the measurements and, just to make sure. We're trying to do the due diligence on our side to make sure everything's, on the money, so.
So the Sika product, is it like an epoxy?
Yes, it is. And this one's pretty decent. When they did a 10 by 10 section, I was actually there and I got to see the whole process, and it's pretty impressive. They do it in 3 layers. They put on the epoxy, and then they screed it out, and then they put some of the aggregate, and then they had to let it cure. I think it was like 30 minutes, and then they came in and did it again, and they did it 3 times. And the other thing is they have to add some material to bring it up so they can get the three levels. And that's where that $18,000 and some change was to bring that up.
Okay.
And we're gonna have a really good product. I mean, the guys have been doing a great job on it, and problem is that, it's a little expensive and it's a little bit more than we anticipated, but we're trying to do everything we can to keep the cost down, and we're gonna have a lot of eyes on it when they start doing the lower
So
portion.
where's your additional funding coming from?
It's coming from SGRT, Projects and Construction, 202-211-52006. And I worked with,
Yep.
I worked with Christelle on it, and then spoke with Judy also to make sure we had the funding.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I move that we accept change order number 1 with Haas Contracting Company, Inc. for the Grindstone Canyon Dam Principal Spillway and North Dam Crest concrete repairs, ITB number 2023-017B, requesting an extension of 7 days to January 18th, 2024, and increasing the contract amount by $239,558.50, including gross receipt tax.
Second.
On here, it says the 20th, and on this, it says the 18th. I don't know which is.
I think it's the 18th.
18th is on paper, online it's the 20th.
I redo it to, I said 18th. Oh,
But
okay.
I was just saying there's a difference in
okay.
what's in here.
Counselor Hooker?
If you're looking on, when you click on it, on the Novus, it says 7 days to January 20th, 2024.
It should be the 18th, I believe. Because what I did is I calculated it out.
Oh, on the recommendation?
Yeah.
That's weird. It's like copy.
Oh, it's just you just didn't catch it down there. The rest of it all says the 18th.
Well, you've done such a great job. I'm surprised Counselor Coughlin hadn't spun off.
He hasn't voted yet, though.
I just really thought, and so, and it sounds
That's why
like,
I made the.
You know
We did
how I feel about change orders that.
well,
This is a
I just knew that once they explained it, it might make you understand a little bit more,
Well,
but
let
it
me
usually
make it-
never keeps you from commenting, but
make
we're
it-
wasting Gresh's time,
Let me
man.
make it simple, is sometimes you never know until you open stuff up.
That's right.
That's it. I mean,
This
it's,
is a justified,
well, the other thing I can relate it to is like when we did the Plan 3 upgrade, it's a retrofit, and whenever you get into a retrofit, there's things that pop up that you didn't know.
okay, stop where you're headed.
Hey, I thought that was good.
We had a motion,
And a second.
second, so we need a roll call, please.
Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
Counselor Eby?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Counselor Hooker?
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin?
Aye.
And Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Appreciate it. And if anybody would like to come out and see it, I'd be glad to give a tour and.
Tell your friend, thanks for being on.
Thanks, Gresh, sorry.
Appreciate it, Chris.
Yes.
When's the
All
date?
right, now then, we'll move back to reports from municipal officials. Mayor Pro Tem, do you have something?
Nope, I got nothing right now.
Counselor Letterman?
The only thing that I have is to remind everyone, keep rid of some beautiful cleanup Sunday at Wingfield Park. We will start at Wingfield Park at 12:30. Pardon me? Right, and then we'll come back and we're gonna have hot dogs. Chicago dogs. And so, please come out and we'll clean up a little bit.
Okay.
What time are the hot dogs gonna show up just for that?
It's at 5 o'clock, right?
You have to have a bag of trash with you.
Yeah.
I'll bring one from home.
Okay.
Counselor Eby?
Just congratulations to the Water Department, Nicole, and to you there, Mayor, for running such a tight meeting.
Oh, yeah, we got that. And thank you for going to the Municipal League Thursday and Friday in Santa Fe.
Yes, quite well. Thanks for driving.
You bet. Counselor Hooker?
Just real quickly, I'd already told Adam thanks, but there was an incident a couple weekends ago at the middle school. He was there attending a sporting event and really helped out when they had a problem with the water.
Nice.
So, again, thanks, Adam. That's all.
He just tries to do it all. Adam does.
He's a hero.
Counselor Coughlin?
Next Tuesday, Rotary Club enchilada dinner. That's it.
That is being catered by K-Bob's, from what I understand.
What?
They're not cooking their own?
Nope.
Maybe that's why the price went up.
Yep.
Well, we'll see how it is.
We'll see if the quality improves.
Yeah.
What's the price now?
I know.
Counselor Jackson?
No, just to encourage everyone with early voting, 21 October through 4 November. Also encourage everyone from a health perspective to get your flu shots and
Got
your
it
COVID,
today.
and your COVID boosters. Very important, especially with the COVID. And I also wanted to thank the village for cleaning up that mess on Orva Estes Drive, where we had that, but basically it looked like a dump site, but it wasn't. And I don't know how many tons of earth were moved, but when you drive in there now, you don't see that. All you see is just a nice level grade, and it improves the looks of things for people coming from Fort Elsewhere to all those athletic events that we have.
Yeah.
Yes.
Temporary storage of dirt from the school construction?
That was
That's what it
the
was,
biggest part
yeah.
of it.
Yep. Okay, well, I guess that concludes that. If I can get a motion, we have closed session.
Mr. Mayor, move that we move into closed session for discussion of limited personnel matters citing 1015-1H2 NMSA 1978. Further discussion subject to the attorney-client privilege pertaining to threatened or pending litigation in which the Village of Ruidoso is or may become a participant, citing 1015-1H7 MSA 1978. And finally, discussion of the purchase, acquisition, and or disposal of real property and or water rights by the Village of Ruidoso, citing 1015-1H8 NMSA 1978. Any action taken as a result of the closed session will be brought back into open session.
Second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin?
Aye.
Counselor Hooker?
Aye.
Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
Counselor Eby?
Okay, Ron, who all do we need? Judy, Mike, and Chief. Jenny.